Join.
Join.
Councilwoman's late.
Okay.
Wording now.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get started with the NAB meeting this evening. Welcome Zoom people.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you guys hear us all right?
Very
clear.
clearly.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Great to see you guys. I just see Mara and Patrick. No Donna. We don't see Donna there this evening yet.
No.
No, I don't see her yet. Mm-mm.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. All right, well, we can go ahead and call the roll.
All right, I'll do the roll call. And just for the record, I'm Amy Pennington. I am filling in for Nick tonight. So, yes. All right. Mimi Fuji Strickler here. Stephen Schwartzer, absent at this time. Patrick Fisher,
Here.
Jack Heineman,
Present.
Donna Keats, absent at this time. Tyler Langdon, absent at this time. Mara Langer,
Yeah,
Stacy Shin. Here. Hal Taylor, absent this time. And alternate Tracy Kimmons. Here. Right, we have a quorum in this meeting for the June 21st Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting for Ward 2 is called to order.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. And Amy, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being here this evening. All right, is there any public comment at this time? Anybody?
do.
Okay,
And I filled out the form
thank you
too.
so much. Come on up around here. This is Janet. Welcome. Come on up.
My name is Janet. Thank you. I don't know where to stand, but
Go ahead and come up to the front here.
okay. Thanks.
Hey, Donna.
So I come in kind of a couple of capacities. I wrote on the form, I'm actually the president of the Double Diamond Ranch Master Association, and then a homeowner, obviously, just in Ward 2, a concerned homeowner, I guess. And so, sorry, I guess I forgot there's people there. So thanks for the opportunity to make a comment. I'll keep it brief. Our frustration in the south part of town continues to be street racing. We've brought it up quite a few times with different people. Most recently, someone asked me what the ability that we might have to understand what Nevada revised statutes or City of Reno or Washoe County laws are regarding like potential use of technology to try to do something to alleviate the street racing problems. Can we put cameras up anywhere at any point in time that might possibly videotape the people doing it and capture tags on cars and those kind of things? Obviously, we're just now, going into the warm part of summer. This past weekend was just absolutely insane from about 10:30 or 11 p.m. until probably 1 in the morning.
And Donna, what part of the south part?
We see it happening down South Meadows, down Double Diamond, South Meadows between Double Diamond Parkway and Veterans really is just a nice wide open raceway for them. They set at that intersection at Double Diamond and South Meadows. In fact, if you go there today, there's actually black rubber tire circles in the middle of the intersection.
Wow.
Because they set and rev their engines and do donuts literally right in the middle of that intersection on a pretty regular basis,
Okay.
which is the entrance, of course, the main entrance to our neighborhood. Double Diamond does have 3,104 homes, so we're a pretty significant size HOA in the city of Reno and have a lot of homeowners. So I guess just more than anything, we wonder if there's any way to start to work through the NAB to try to,
Yes.
gain any traction with the city council. I know people have said cameras are never allowed. I don't profess to be an attorney and understand what the Nevada statutes are, the city of Reno laws, or any of those kind of things about what's allowed, what's not allowed, why, if there's any capacity with street racing issues specifically, that any of those laws could be changed or amended, overcome to make it easier to try to fight the problem of street racing.
Are there now mufflers? Is
Horribly,
that's the
horribly.
biggest concern?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually had a homeowner call me Saturday night at 12:45 in the morning because she backed up to South Meadows Parkway. And I actually called the police department and made a police report myself at 12:45 or 1 in the morning, like Saturday night into Sunday morning. just to try to get somebody to even have a cop drive down the street, because maybe if they see a police car, they would just stop. And of course, I understand the limitations of the police department, not blaming anybody. I'm just looking to see if there's any way to move forward with some solution to the problem.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much. We'll make sure that Councilwoman Dewar is.
She knows.
on this. Yes, she knows. See if we can maybe do something else. Thank
For
you so
sure.
much.
Thanks.
All right, we have another public comment with Pat and Janice Flanagan. Would you like to speak now?
Yes, that would be great. We would.
Welcome in, Janice.
I am Janice Flanagan, my husband, Pat Flanagan. We're here with a group of neighbors. My husband and I live at 1460 Bermuda Circle. There is a home for sale at 1490 Bermuda Circle. These three people all live, we're all neighbors, right, surrounding this home that's for sale. There was talk about having this home become an Airbnb. And we immediately were frightened because of our property values dropping because of this. We don't know what the rules are for our area for an Airbnb. But if it would be allowed, I think that there should be some rule initiated that short-term rentals be limited so that the negative aspect of an Airbnb would not negatively impact our neighborhood. It's a cul-de-sac. This home that's for sale sits at the top of the cul-de-sac with 2 parking spaces in front of it, plus their driveway. And it wouldn't be very nice if we had this in our neighborhood. So we are here as a start. I did speak with Rick Caldera at Hillary Sheedy's office. And because there was illegal construction going on, and they did find the owner for the illegal construction that had not been permitted. So you can see just starting at the beginning, there may be people who are willing to cut corners. And so we're here to start the process. Now, where we go from here, we're really not sure. Is there anything anybody else wants to say?
Well, we're on the golf course. That's where we are. And the cul-de-sac does not lend itself to an Airbnb. There is no parking. It is really not advantageous. There has to be so many other properties that choose an Airbnb. Who wants it next to me?
Well, and with the Airbnb, there is no person there except the guests. There is no host there because the guests want free reign of the house and all like that. And he could have he wanted up to 6 people in the house. It's a 2-bedroom house and he wanted to make it into 6 bedrooms, but he has decided not to purchase the property on there. So the house is back for sale, but it'd be nice if we could be proactive and make some kind of amendment so that we can't have that in that area. It would be nice that, you know, like if you go to a hotel and you have unruly guests, you call up the hotel and say, hey, your guests are unruly. Could you quiet them down or something? But with the Airbnb, there is no host and nobody but the police department to call. And our police department is really busy and they don't have time to come out and tell people just to be quiet. So we would like to be proactive and maybe make some, I don't know what you do, amend the CC&R. It's not listed in the CC&R, so it isn't, no business is legal in our area in the CC&Rs. But we just like to make sure that we don't have a business come in on there, being proactive about it. Because if one person has the idea, I'm sure others will. And it's a beautiful property, and if a person buys a property and wants to have friends there and have a party, that's okay, because I call the owner and say, can you hold it down a little, but without an owner, a guest, a manager, somebody there on the premises, people can just do what they want, and we would rather not have to call the police.
Let me ask our planner, is there anything with zoning, code enforcement about Airbnbs in a residential neighborhood that zones for it, not zoned for it?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you. I'm Joey Winter. I'm a staff member with the Development Services Department. I haven't been to this ward NAB meeting before, so thanks for allowing me to be here. The city does not currently have an ordinance on short-term rentals. So there's nothing in the city code that regulates where Airbnb can or cannot be. That would have to be an ordinance which is passed and added to the city code.
I think it would be wise to do something, when it comes close to your house on there. And even people with bed and breakfasts, we found out that is legal in the city of Reno in certain areas, like, I guess, the Wells Avenue area, something to redevelop that. They have allowed it, and so far, I guess, there haven't been many problems. But like up in Lake Tahoe, where the large homes are, there's quite a concern, and they're working to improve their CCNRs or something. Until this came up, I really didn't pay much attention to it.
Do you all have CCNRs?
Yes,
Because it specifically gives the rules of our CCNRs in Double Diamond, so we can enforce it that way.
is it, definitely say
A newer
Airbnb?
area than
Oh,
ours.
well, your area is, but ours just says no businesses allowed.
Yeah, ours is an older area.
So it may be worthwhile to pursue it through your HOA first and try.
Well, we don't have an HOA.
Oh, well, then you,
It would be almost impossible. It could be done, but we're on the golf course, so HOA would encompass all the houses on the golf course, and that's a large, unwieldy.
So I think our problem
And just,
is, what do we do now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
just say that, so public comment is 3 minutes a person, so just, it's not, and I'll defer to the chair as to a next step, but if everyone who spoke can fill out a comment form, so we have your name and information for the record. And then as far as a next step, do you have one in mind that you wanted to?
I do,
propose?
I'm gonna talk with Councilwoman Dewar about this. I'll let her know, you should look into these CCNRs. It's something that maybe people might have to get involved with to try and enforce what the rules and regulations of those CCNRs are. The only other question I would have, and I'll brief Councilwoman Dewar on this, is that if somebody is running an Airbnb, is that something that constitutes a business license?
Yeah, that would be correct.
Mimi, may I interrupt? Madam Chair?
Okay, did you hear all that, Naomi?
Yes, I heard most of it. I just wanted to let you know I had a meeting that ran late. And so I finished it, so I joined by Zoom, but I am going to be joining in person. I did hear part of the conversation about the Airbnb, and speakers were correct. We don't have an Airbnb regulation right now. They do need to have a business license, however, just to be clear, it is a business and they need to have a business license. So we don't have unique regulations. There are going to be more discussion about everything to do with housing, whether it's ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, which some people want those so that they can create an Airbnb. Others want them so that they can have relatives live with them, whether it's younger relatives, students, or older relatives, or maybe they want it for a long-term rental, just to make some extra income and provide some extra housing. So the people that are interested in the Airbnb should stay alert for this, because literally after the break, the council just went on break for about 30 days. Well, our next meeting is July 20th. And soon thereafter, we will be discussing this ADU. So I want to make sure that you know what this acronym is, ADU, accessory dwelling unit. And it could very well have to do with Airbnb or VRBO or whatever the generic term is, that kind of housing, that kind of rental. So people should stay tuned for it and know it possibly could be coming up pretty soon. I would say within the next 3 months.
Thank you so much. Did you guys catch that? Yes. All right. So, well, thank you so much for coming in and bringing your concerns to us. That is a valid concern. So you have a little bit of direction now to move forward. So I would definitely look into those CCNRs, maybe legal counsel, and just know that they are required to have a business license to run an Airbnb. And so if that circles back with the CCNRs that says that they're not supposed to run a business, then maybe you have a little bit of information there.
All right, so then we'll check back with you.
Well, with what Councilwoman Dewar said, that they're working on this accessory dwelling unit. I don't know if they're gonna make it,
Late July, it sounds
is it gonna be like an ordinance or
There'll be a workshop.
a workshop? Okay.
It's under, so just watch the city council meeting schedule, and there will be something that comes up on this ADU. That's when it will be discussed by the
It
council.
really doesn't quite fit in the ADU, that we will go to the city council
Yes.
next. All right, thank you for
All
your
right,
help.
thank you so much. for your
But
time.
if I may, Madam
Thank you.
Chair, I just wanted to say, if you can hear me, I just wanted to say that while it doesn't quite fit in the bucket, sometimes we get at issues through the side door. And I feel that it will come up, even though we're talking about accessory dwelling units. Again, some of the people are going to be concerned about them because of the potential use as Airbnb. And that is why it'll transition into an Airbnb conversation. I can almost guarantee it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
All right,
Bye. Thank you
so
very
for
much.
Melody.
Appreciate your time.
Madam Chair, I did have one question.
Yes.
And I think it's for you. So last legislative session, they did pass a bill with the state that allows Clark County, they took out the rest of the state, but Clark County and the municipalities within Clark can write their own rules around short-term rental properties. And I'm just curious, like, do we need that authorization from the state? I know that they went and they did several things, like they mandate that every Airbnb has a 24/7 local representative that is contactable during the stay for that entire, for all of the bookings. So I know that Clark County at least is moving forward on this, but I didn't know if we would need to add the rest of the state to that legislation next session to get the authority to do more.
Thanks for the question, Stacy. And my understanding of the current situation in Washoe County is that if the city would like to adopt an ordinance, they have the authority to do so.
Without the prior authorization. Okay.
Thank you for your help. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this evening? Thank you so much. All right, next is item A3, approval of the agenda for possible action. Okay, so we heard one piece of the agenda where one of the developers is not here for a project, but we've got the representative here from the city of Reno. And so do you guys still want to hear that project without the developer? We do have Joey here to tell us about it.
I didn't hear which project was that, sorry.
That is going to be B23, the Elite Boat and RV storage item.
Okay.
I don't know if they'll be able to come back next month, so we,
So Madam Chair, your next NAB meeting is after their scheduled planning commission hearing, I believe. So I can certainly give you a quick update.
well, we'll take the briefing from Joey then, just so we can hear that, you guys. Okay, thank you, Joey, for offering that.
So
Okay, with that, is there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing it. Right, let's move, so you have a motion to
I'll
approve.
move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Jack.
I'll second.
Okay, we have 2 seconds. We have Jack made the motion, Patrick and Don made the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Moving on to agenda item A4, approval of the minutes from April 19th. Do we have any comments or changes to the minutes by any of the board members? All right, move to approve. Donna's moved to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Jack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Approved. Thank you. We don't have Councilwoman Dewar, so we're gonna move past the council liaison.
Yeah, I
report.
was gonna ask if we could just wait. I'll be there in about 10 minutes. So,
Yeah, no problem, Councilwoman. All right. Amy, staff liaison report. Anything to report for us today?
No, I just, again, just introduce myself because I haven't met most of you. I typically work with a few of our other council members and I'm filling in for Nick's point today as he's out of town. But if there's any questions or any follow-up that you need from this meeting, feel free to contact me and I can get that to Nick or Councilmember Dewar, whatever needs to be done. So Pennington@reno.gov is my contact information or you can obviously just grab me here at the meeting as well. So yeah, if anyone has any questions for me, I can try and answer them, but I have Councilmember Dewar will be here soon, so she'll probably have more of a report than I have.
So our next, under the business items is discussion on Ward 2 Community Tree Planting Project. Naomi, do you want us to wait for you on that one?
no, I can just go ahead. What I asked for this to be on your agenda, and I don't know if Matt was able to join us, but I just wanted there to be enough planning time. I've been talking with Matt Basil, our urban forester, about when the next tree planting would be in Ward 2. They've been primarily in other wards for the last couple of years through COVID. And he and I discussed the places like Brown Elementary School. There are other school areas that have other park areas right next to them. One of the challenges has been that the tree planting that we did in Comstock Park was really not successful. I had initially asked for mounds of dirt to be brought in to elevate the trees above the water table so that their roots would not be in the water. That did not go as planned, and it was done in the very early days of Matt Basil being our urban forester, and I think he didn't understand, or the people of Public Works didn't understand how important that was. So if we do another tree planting in South Reno, we'll be looking to improve it. Some of the people that live around Comstock Park, which is basically in Double Diamond, feel very disappointed that the trees did not take. And it may have been a species selection. It may have been these mounds that I've spoken about. So if we do pick one in South Reno, which South Reno deserves trees, as well as other places, then we're going to have to be very selective on the trees and very careful in how we plant them. We may want to go back in and try it one more time in Comstock Park. I don't know. But that's, I don't know if Matt Basil's on the phone, on the Zoom today or not. Is he?
No, he is not.
No, he's not with us.
No, he's not here with us today.
Okay. Well, I at least wanted the NAB to know that this discussion is taking place. It's months away. It would be in the fall. But since we're in June, it seemed that we should talk about it and let people know that it's being discussed. There's also plans for another tree. I'll call it a giveaway, even though it's not a giveaway. It's actually a discounted tree giveaway. So the trees cost, let's say, under $20, but it's far less than they would cost if you just bought them at a nursery. And we even talked about possibly making the distribution point for that somewhere in South Reno, just to kind of spread it around. So we haven't made any decisions. I think it's unlikely. We'll probably keep it at Idlewild Park, but it has been incredibly popular, and that is usually done also in October. October, the fall, is a great time to plant trees, which is why we do the giveaway at that time. So I was just really looking for some thoughts from the NAB, either on, doing a tree planting. I do already have a partner. There is a service partner that worked with us about 5 years ago, not Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, but a different one called Just Serve. And I talked to them. They're extremely interested in partnering with us again on this. So last time they worked with us, they brought out probably 50 to 100 volunteers, and they were very excited to do it again. So I just wanted to share that it wouldn't fall necessarily on the NAB members' shoulders. We would love to have that participation, but I'm certainly looking to the NAB for ideas, recommendations somewhere in Ward 2 that they feel could use some trees, keeping some of the challenges in mind.
Anybody have any?
So I'm looking for some input. Yeah.
Jack?
I think trying Comstock Park again would be really nice. I live over there in Double Diamond, and I can echo, we were a little disappointed. The success rate there. But I do think trying again would be really helpful. We would like some trees down there over in Double Diamond, especially off Comstock.
Patrick or Mara? Any comments? Yeah, no, and we can, since this isn't going to be into.
Sorry, well,
Oh, go ahead,
I'm
Mara.
sorry. Ms. Chair. So I actually was just texting Naomi, Jewish Nevada and our synagogues in the area are going to have a community mitzvah day on October 16th. And it's a Sunday, and we're looking at doing park cleanups as well as tree planting as part of that. So I don't know if that's around the time you're thinking about it, Councilwoman, but it's something to consider. We are meeting at Temple Emmanuel, which is in Ward 2.
Yeah, it is. It's very important. That's why I'm bringing it up right now, so we can do good planning. Maybe we should team up with that, and just expand it, unless you want it to be just Jewish Nevada. I think this Just Serve represents a different faith group. So we can either avoid that day or team up on that day. So there's a lot of options, but thank you for the information.
Okay.
I also think that since it's not until October, it's possible that as NAB members, we could take a survey, as a lot of us live in different areas of the NAB, and, kind of take a survey and look around and see if there's other areas, parks, where we feel that maybe some of the trees have died, or we could use additional trees in some of those areas, and then maybe come back and, we'll have another discussion in August. Remind everybody again in July, have another discussion in August about some areas that could potentially need some additional trees that we're not thinking of right at the moment. We also have a comment here from Judy. It says, is it possible to try to save some of the trees that will be removed in the Veteran Steamboat redo next spring? Do you have any thoughts on that, Councilwoman?
I will share with you, I was not aware that they were removing trees from Veterans Parkway. Are we speaking about the Southeast Connector part or the part that's closer to Damani Ranch?
Judy, I don't know if you can hear us.
Tristan, can you give Judy ability to speak?
Hi, Judy, this is the NAB. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I just wanted to know, I know they're going to be taking out a bunch of landscaping when they redo Veterans and Steamboat next spring.
Oh, okay.
And is there any way that we could possibly try to save some of the trees and the bushes and stuff, because they're going to be taking out, all of that median from Veterans back to probably the fire station?
That is an excellent point, and I will reach out to Matt. That's again RTC. And so the question is, rather than cutting down the trees, some of which are pretty young, could we relocate some of the bushes, flowers, and trees to other locations?
Yes.
Okay, great point. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy, for that great suggestion. So I think with the NAB members, then we can think about, we'll remind everybody again in July, we've got a hand up, right?
Patrick.
Oh, yeah, I was going to throw in an idea. Since the borders of our ward have changed, we may have picked up certain parks or lost certain parks that we had associations with in the past. And maybe it's time to take a look at that, if there's any new parks in our ward versus before, or because I know we talked about a park that was on Robin Hood or near the Pepper Mill. We talked about a park that was in there at one point in time that needed some help, greening it up a little bit. And I'm not sure, I don't think that's still in Ward 2. So maybe we can look at that and see if we picked up any new parks.
I can answer that. So Robin Hood Park is in now Ward 1. It is just south of Virginia Lake. It's an awkward Robin Hood Drive is kind of hard to get to because it's a one-way. And I had put it on a list, a community development block grant list several times, and it ended up getting dropped off. And now this park is not even part of Ward 2. We did pick up a park, and that park is Horseman's Park on Skyline. So our ward used to end at right at Horseman's Park. That was the dividing line between Ward 1 and Ward 2, and now Horseman's Park is in Ward 2. So it's another place that needs some love, frankly. That is why the city initially leased it out to the Center for Adaptive Riding, because they were having a hard time taking care of that park. And now it is in Ward 2. So that's another option as well. Great idea. Thanks. I mean, I hadn't even been thinking about it, but it is brand new to us.
Maybe we can suggest for Nick when he comes back, if we can bring this item back in July and ask for the boundaries, our new boundaries of Ward 2, and just take a look and see, and take a look at these new areas that, you know, are new for us and see if there's something that falls in. Because I'm thinking like we have Medwood Mall too, correct?
What's that?
We have Medwood Mall.
Yeah, so as part of Ward 2, we have lost the Atlantis, and there was an apartment complex around it in that triangle. But we gained Meadowood Mall. And there's about, so we lost about 1,000 apartments near the Atlantis, and we gained about 2,000 apartments near Meadowood Mall.
Yeah.
And we're also gaining every single day more apartments up Arrow Creek and Wedge Parkway that are being built, and more apartments that are being built on Damani Ranch, for example, on Damani Ranch Parkway, and also more that are built along, I want to say Veterans right now too. So there's a lot of growth going on. So even though we've lost some stuff, we've gained some stuff, and we're continuing to gain.
So let's do that. Let's see if we can bring back this item for July and then add, see if we can bring up our new Ward 2 boundaries and then have a discussion about our new areas. Maybe we might find something in there.
Right. It did stay largely the same. I will say that. We just got the upper, it's actually upper but southern end of Manzanita and upper southern end of Skyline. And we lost Atlantis, and we lost the whole Virginia Lake, and the golf course, urban, those kind of areas, the areas between Plum Lane and Moana Lane that were part of Ward 2. Virginia Lake is a good example. This NAB put a tremendous amount of energy with me into Virginia Lake, everything from improving the water quality to changing the roads, to getting Watt Street redone, to planting trees.
Yes.
And that's suddenly not part of Ward 2. So
Well, we'll just beautify another quarter.
that's exactly what I expect this group to do.
Exactly. We'll just find something else. All right, thank you, everybody. Is there any more
I just
comments?
don't know how closely you guys like follow Robert's rules, and I don't want to speak out of place, and I don't want to contradict you either, because we love our Comstock Park, but we as the HOA have done a lot of landscaping in Comstock Park just in the last year. We have Horizon Park that's actually on Veterans.
Yeah.
There's just barren.
Okay.
I agree.
Great
It's a piece of dirt
suggestion.
with a playground on it with no trees.
Well, it's not a contradiction. We're looking for that input. That's why I put it on this agenda.
Yeah.
I don't have a preconceived idea. I actually brought up Horizon Park with Matt Basil, our urban forester, as an idea. So that's why I felt like, let's bring it to the NAB and see what people are interested in, and we'll go from there.
That's why we love having you guys here,
Yeah,
because you live out
I
there.
think if I had a vote, I would say Horizon before Comstock, just because we've been putting a lot of love into Comstock, so Horizon's pretty barren down there. I don't know. I'm sure there's some trees planted there.
Yeah, it's very few. It definitely rose to the top. I wasn't gonna name like all 5 that Matt and I discussed, but it was one of them for sure.
Okay, well, we'll add that to the list. Any other comments? All right, thank you. Great item. We'll, I look forward to having more discussion about that next time. All right, now we're going to go back to A5, the council
All right.
liaison report.
I'll make this really short because I know we have 4 projects on today. So I just want to mention the council just finished closing out the budget for the city. I want to say it was in the $929 million range with all in, almost exactly. About 2/3 of it is for public safety. It's actually about 60%, not 66%. That's our top priority, frankly, is having a safe city. But there were about 90 some, 80 some positions added for a variety of things. I've been told, for example, something I've asked for 7 years, which is some kind of person to deal with historic resources. We have a commission, we have ordinances, and there's absolutely no one at the city with the expertise. So I had been asking for years for a contract, and I've been told it's possible through other funds, we may get a person. But that's not one of the 80 I'm even mentioning. 14 of the 80, and it might not exactly be 80, I'm rounding here. 14 were police officers. So that was a really big step for us. That brings our public safety police officer component to 31 in the last 3 years. In that last 3 years, we also added 30 firefighters. So we're trying desperately to make up for the losses that we experienced in the recession. There were people added across the board to try to fill in many missing gaps. Park, planning, community development, inspection services, all the basic stuff that the city does. If you're really interested, it's pretty easy to pull up online, or I could, bring you some details at a future date. But I just wanted to mention that will go into effect July 1. So that's a change. The other thing I wanted to mention was in the last month, since we met right after it, but I did mention it. We had a presentation here about Steamboat Parkway. We had a public workshop about Steamboat Parkway. They being RTC were really appreciative of the workshop, got a lot out of it, and are looking at making some changes to the Steamboat Parkway design. So that was a real positive, and it came out of the NAB presentation. That's how that grew. At the same time, we had a presentation, public workshop on wild horses and the continuing need to fence. And I note that Tracy's here. I don't know if you would plan to speak on any of this, but I just want to say that the big question is fall is around the corner, right? We get through summer, fall is around the corner. And early fall, August is when the horses go on the move. And since that time, there's an expectation that there will be new signage about horses, about not feeding horses, about not leaving gates open. The gate at Rio Wrangler is not resolved to my knowledge. That's correct, right? Right now, I think the staff are looking at identifying money for the fencing and how to move out with the fencing project. I, meanwhile, am looking at this whole Virginia Range Trails project because it goes hand in hand with the development that's being proposed in the Virginia Range. And it's got to happen contemporaneously, in other words, at the same time. So that's something I am working on quite a bit, discussing quite a bit right now. Those two things, horses for South Reno, trail for South Reno, Steamboat Parkway for South Reno. In North Reno, our north part of our ward, Moana Pool is moving forward, still looking at a breaking ground this fall on Moana Pool. So let's see, I wanted to make sure I talked about the public safety. The Public Safety Center is already moving forward. They're already into renovation of the building, of the Reno Gazette building. Let's see, Moana Pool. And then development. So at our last meeting, with the council, they asked us to confirm that we want to move forward with changes to Title 18. And they put an entire list together. We did not prioritize that list. They felt like the list was prioritized from before. The challenge is there's still some that we were working on that still hadn't got finished before we start new ones. Included amongst those were, again, horses. As they've gotten into the development projects, they found maybe they need to spec out stronger gates, better fences, different proposals to make it more meaningful, make it workable. Because as I'm sure Tracy could attest, there are a huge amount of challenges as some of the projects go forward, whether it's Daybreak or any of those projects that are moving forward. One of those is the tree ordinance that we've been working on. We got requests for additional information. Matt Basil is working on additional mapping So working with the Division of Forestry on getting additional data on how things have changed in, it would be the 8 to 10 years since the last survey was done by the Division of Forestry on our tree canopy cover. So we committed to doing that. I went and visited with the AGC, which is Associated General Contractors, about the ordinance with probably 20 people, along with Matt and Jamie Schroeder. We got a lot of good input. One of the biggest things they said is, why are we not enforcing our current ordinances? Which is something that the Urban Forestry Commission has brought up over and over again. Even before we change the ordinances. And a lot of the changes were to put more specificity into the existing ordinance so that they could enforce our current ordinances, because there's a lot of discussion about what an individual word means, what the penalties are. There's a lot of confusion. And the people here at Moana participated in that meeting, and they said they helped write that first tree ordinance, which was done about 2 decades ago. And some of the same people are in the room. And they said, well, can you not just enforce the ordinance? And we said, we would love to. And everyone on the Urban Forestry Commission has asked that the tree ordinance be enforced. So there's sort of a push-pull here. But I feel confident at some point we'll see that get finished. Some of you may know Kelly Mullen. She was working on these ordinances. She worked for the section that J.W. Hodge is over, which is strategic planning and policy. And she left to take a position at the county to be head of their development services program. And they, I believe, are recruiting as we speak, or going to be about to recruit. So
What's Kelly's last name?
Mullen, Mullin. So she was sort of the brain trust on the regulation, not just the trees, but several. She's working on housing, affordable housing, homelessness. She's working on a suite of things. So those things have sort of paused right now. So I'll just leave it there. Again, there's a lot of projects here, and I'm always here for questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Mara.
Hi, I have a comment. I know the horses are a big deal, and I was just up at Western Skies today doing my walking route by the new Carmela site, or the Regency site, and there's a herd up there right now. So they're out already.
Well, they're always out. Tracy could tell us about that, but what happens in August is that things are starting to dry up. As you know, the water is low. And I'll just remind you all, for the last 2 years, we've had 90 straight days of over 95 degrees in a row with no water, no rain. So July, August, September have been 90 straight days last year, over 95 with no water. The year before, 90 straight days, over 95 with no water. And so what happens is the horses are looking for water. The water's at Steamboat Creek. They're looking for grass. The grass is down at Veterans Parkway. If they can get there, they want to get there. And so they will be on the move. And I think Tracy would tell us that she's not talking, but I think she would tell us that if she was talking, that they keep coming down earlier every year as conditions on the range dry up. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are in drought and are seeing them earlier. And we do have the band that she was just referring to has found its way out. There's another band that's been coming down Toll Road. So we are seeing them out a bit earlier this year. We are actually, there's a property owner there with a small gap in the fence. We're reaching out to the brother of that owner because we can't seem to get a direct contact with him to see if he will allow us to go fence that little opening off. That will be temporary until they find another way farther to the south, but at least hopefully that will be something to hold us for a little bit.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you for the great updates. Always so much going on.
Well, and I just want to say welcome to our new members.
Yes.
I didn't know if they ended up introducing themselves.
They didn't. We were a little bit late, so we just jumped into.
Can I just take a moment of my time to have them each introduce themselves and just why did you ask to be on the NAB and what's your name? And
Can they come towards the camera so we can see them?
yes, well, that's a little challenging.
Or just lean in a little bit so we can see them. Yeah.
You want to go first, Stacy?
Sure.
That's good. I like what you did there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy Shin. I am a 14-year resident of Reno, but a little over a year in this ward. And when I ran into Naomi at an event recently, I was excited to tell her that I am now in her ward. And she said, well, that's convenient. I have an opening on the NAB and I work in state politics. So I'm very interested. I love policy. So I was really excited. I want to do more localized things and want to volunteer sometime for my neighborhood.
Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you.
My name is Tracy Kimmons. I'm from Austin, Texas, but I've been here almost 7 years. I'm very passionate about change, and I've been through a lot of change. So I want to see it go in a direction that is progressive and kind of modernized, but also efficient and effective. So that's why I joined Naomi's NAB. I live in Ward 3 actually, and I'm also trying to get on with Ward 3 because I'm very passionate about that. Basically, I'm an artist and a landscaper, so I have a lot of outdoor and art experience, and that's where I want to apply my creativity here.
So I suggested to Tracy that she come on here as an alternate, get a little background. And then she's put her name and application in for Ward 3.
Yeah.
So we may just have her for a while. I know they just made some appointments to Ward 3 at the last meeting, and this would be, something for you to follow up on. Have you already talked to Tracy?
Before the meeting week.
Yeah, good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, thank you for doing the introductions.
Yes,
Back to you,
and
Mimi.
Thank you for serving so much. We like to think that our ward is the best ward.
Oh, right.
We know it's the best.
We know it's the best.
Well, I
ward.
do a lot of work in Ward 2, and I like its progress.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Yes, we're very proactive. We have the ward that has the most growth and development right now. So we have a lot of things that are moving, and of course with Councilwoman Dewar at the home, she's always, leading the charge for us so that we're making sure that we're keeping on top of things that are happening in our work. Welcome, ladies. And this ward has a lot to say about everything, so that's why I love our board members, because they're very involved, and it's fun. All right, we're gonna go into the development projects. The first one we're gonna talk about is B21 Format Solar Project. A request has been made for a major site plan review to allow the installation of a 7-megawatt photovoltaic solar field that results in a hillside development. The 1.0403 acre site is located approximately 3,500 feet south of the Mount Rose Highway, directly south of the Steamboat Ditch, in between South Virginia and Interstate 580. The subject site has a zoning designation of industrial and a master plan use designation of industrial. This is a project of regional significance and will be reviewed by the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. So we have a representative here today.
Of course, well, they're one.
Oh, there they are.
Eric Hasty.
Yes.
Eric.
Eric, are you with us?
I was good.
Hello, Eric, can you hear us?
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sorry.
Are you the presenter for this project?
Yes, I am. Are you guys, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can, but it sounds like there's an echo on your end. So do you have both a phone and a computer on?
Nope. I just have my computer on. Let me see if I can mess with the audio settings here.
And you may want to log in, log out, and then log back in.
All right, I'll try that.
It's fine as long as we're not talking. It's fine as long as we're not talking.
So you said.
Okay, what can you? Hello, can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Is there still an echo?
No.
And Eric, if you'd like to share your screen for your presentation, go ahead.
I want to know what you did, Eric, to fix this.
I was prompted to become a presenter, so I think that somebody.
Okay, good.
Okay, so okay, I will share my screen. Sorry about this.
No, but he'll have to speak up, or you will turn him up.
I have turned it all the way.
Okay, Eric, when you speak, you're gonna have to speak loudly because you're coming across very faintly.
Okay, I will try to speak as loud as I can. All right, well, thank you. Sorry I can't be there in person today, but I am representing the applicant, Ormat. I'm with Wood Rogers. My name is Eric Hasty for the record. I'm here to talk to you today about a major site plan review for the Ormat Steamboat Hills Solar Project. For those of you not familiar with the Ormat geothermal facility, this is located directly south of the Summit Mall. This is in like the farthest south area in the city arena limits. This whole area here shown is part of the geothermal power plant complex, where it spans in between old US 395, Mount Rose Highway to the north, I-580 bisects it, and there's even portions on the other side of I-580 below TMCC campus. But the portion we're looking at right now is this area highlighted in blue. This parcel is a 104-acre parcel, but the site we're looking at is only 56 acres of this. The only access into this site is off the Mount Rose Highway. There are no public roads. All the roads in here are private. So it's quite a trek to get down into here. Looking closer in at the actual site itself, you can see that there is some development on it. These are 3 injection wells for the geothermal facility. There's also a maintenance road that comes in along here to access these geothermal wells for maintenance and other activities. What we're looking at doing is adding solar fields to a portion of this site. The master plan for this is industrial and zoning, and the reason why this major site plan review is triggered, because even though it's a secondary use for the geothermal plant, we are proposing these on steep slopes, and we just want to make sure that we're minimizing the impacts to these slopes through this major site plan review. So here's looking at the same area. This is that parcel that was located. It's not showing the whole parcel here. We are proposing a 7 megawatt solar field. There's 8 different solar fields that are associated with this. And the technology that they're using on these solar panels is different from the one they just installed to the west here. This will not require the grading that was associated with that one. Typically, with these older solar panels are the ones that they've used in the past, you'd have to grade the site flat in order to install these. This one comes with technology that is installed. It's very minimal. There's no concrete footings. You are able to put drive the steel beams down into the ground, and it follows the natural contours of the slopes. So these will kind of be blanketed over the natural contours of the slopes. It should be noted that this area was burned by the patrol fire about a year ago. So most of the vegetation and all of these trees that are identified on here are completely deceased. Everything's burnt completely down. There is some weeds and some small ground cover coming in right now. But with this project, after they go in and install these solar panels, they're proposing to put down a native seed mix that will help stabilize the slopes that are disturbed from this. So with this installation of the solar panels and with this new technology, the minimal grading that will be required is right here where they're proposing the realignment of the maintenance road. There's two sections, one right in here and then the other one to the east. This whole site will be fenced to keep wildlife and anybody else out of it. And let's see, I believe, oh yes, so this geothermal facility will only be used for the will be tied into the solar facility will be tied into the geothermal plant. So what it's really going to be doing is the geothermal plant will be using this the energy created from these solar fields for its operations. So that way the geothermal produced power that pushes out into the grid will be more geothermally produced because it's not leaching off of itself. One of the concerns from the city of Reno that they expressed was the view from I-580 and the impact that this would have on any cars traveling. And so we did a view shed analysis that looked at where this would be visible. And along I-580, there's only one spot where this is visible, and this is really where Mount Rose Highway comes in onto I-580 in the southbound lanes. So this is a photo simulation showing what this would look like. And this is the same photo. It's just faded out right here where you can see the black here indicating where the solar panels will be. Again, these are going to be contoured along the slopes, and they're only going to be sticking 6 to 7 feet above the ground. So the visibility will be pretty minimal. These are designed to capture the solar rays and absorb them, not to reflect them. These aren't the mirrors or anything like that. These are actually absorbing them. And so they are painted with all non-reflective materials. So there is some reflection with the glass, but I'm sorry, is there a question?
Yeah, we're just asking if you could speak a little louder, please.
Oh yeah, sorry. So like I was saying, this is going to be coated with a non-reflective material so that it will help to minimize any reflection provided. Again, this is from the actual site of the view shed from the where the solar panels will be located and looking up into where I-580 is. So this area right here is showing the actual I-580. You can see most of the cars aren't even visible. There are two semi trucks that are going by right here, and you can't even view the windshields from this area. So most of this site will be out of view from the public. So next steps, we have planning commission meeting scheduled for July 21st, and a regional planning commission meeting we are anticipating will be in August, as this is a project of regional significance because of the amount of power generation. So sorry for the technical difficulties. My information is on here. If you have any questions that you didn't understand today, but I would be happy to stick around and try to answer anything you guys, any questions you may have.
Great, thank you, Eric. Board members, do you have questions? Jack?
Before I even start, I just want to make a note so no one forgets. I think there were some questions in the chat before. Okay,
Judy, yeah.
perfect. And then I just had just a quick follow-up, Eric. You're saying that the energy that the solar panels are replacing, that energy the geothermal plant was using?
So the geothermal plant uses some of the energy that it produces in order to inject water down into these wells and for all the other operations that are going on. So this solar field will actually connect to those sources, not to the power grid specifically, and they will be able to pull the power from the energy created from these solar fields and not have to waste that geothermally produced power, and they can push that stuff out into the grid.
Perfect. Thank
Can
you.
I just ask a question? Why is that better? Why is it better to use solar versus geothermal for the same purpose?
It's cost effective over the long run. I mean, they're both renewable energy, so it really comes down to cost.
So you're saying that the solar is cheaper to produce the energy that's needed to run the geothermal than using the geothermal to produce the same amount of energy?
As far as I understand, yeah, but I'm not an expert in.
One more question.
Can I
Yeah.
jump in? And I just took a tour of Ormat last week, so I apologize. The agreement that Ormat has, I guess, with NV Energy, they are not allowed to sell this solar energy and it can't go onto the grid. So therefore, the geothermal is all that the provider can sell to the grid. So they're trying to take sort of a backfill the geothermal they're currently using to run the auxiliary systems for that. They're replacing the auxiliary systems will use the solar, and then it allows more geothermal to be sold.
To be
the grid,
sold.
because that's the only type of energy they're allowed to
And
sell.
my understanding is all of Ormat's contracts are out of state to California. They don't sell any within.
Yeah, I don't know specifically, but they did say that most of their energy is going to California. I don't have the specifics of it though.
So, and they cannot, like, if they overproduce on the solar, they can't sell that to the grid.
That's correct, and we actually, some of the city staff went through the tour and we saw the switch where energy can go one way, and if it starts, the solar stuff starts going towards the grid, it has to shut it off, and that's just based on regulatory issues.
Okay, so just so people know why I'm asking this question. So I myself have 36 solar panels, and I myself have a dual meter to where I use what I can use, and I do sell my excess to the grid. And it's determined how much they will pay me on a lottery system. So they determine how much they'll pay me per kilowatt for me selling back. You know, it's just assigned, and it was assigned back in 2011. That's when I installed, and that through that lottery system, but I can sell back, and then I get a credit, you know, against my use. Well, I actually get, you know, instead of money, cash money, I get a credit for the value of what I've sold. But you're saying, and I did not realize this, that a group like Ormat cannot sell back to the grid.
That's correct, and I'm saying what Ormat said to me, I don't know the specifics of it. The way they describe it is they cannot sell solar to the grid. They don't have regulatory approval to do that.
But could they get it? I mean, that's today's world. Would they have to go through a docket at the PUC to become a solar provider, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know the
We don't
specifics
know.
of it.
Okay.
Patrick?
Yeah, I was curious about environmental impacts. I ride my bike a lot down Old 395. There's a barbed wire fence with signs on it that are posted that say keep out of this area, endangered species. I'm not sure if it's the buckwheat or there's a moth or something, but there's something that was protected in this area at one point in time or trying to be protected. Has a full environmental review been done, or?
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is the steamboat buckwheat, and that has been mapped, those known areas, and the soils that are required for that to grow are not on this site specifically. So we have submitted a U.S. Fish and Wildlife did a report and showing the areas of where this is. And we have submitted that, and we're turning that into the city of Reno tomorrow with these comments.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, Donna.
This is probably a rhetorical question, but when this goes forward, all the master plan findings and everything's so supportive of all these policies and, which it kind of meets the stuff. But how is it the highest and best use for Nevada to take all this acreage and put little big black things on it that produces nothing for Nevada? If the energy is being used for the geothermal, that's a business proposition. Most of that energy apparently goes to California. So why would we want one of our more visible landscapes in the fastest growing part of our city to be like solar? I mean, it looks like a good project. I'm not saying no, but it's like, this is like you can go through all these things, you go check, 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 down through the findings that you have to make along the way, check, check, check. But that's as if it's for us. But it's not. So why would we want to do it? So that it makes more money for a company who sells most of their energy out of state and uses our water and re-injects injection wells, which has some risk associated with them environmentally. Why would we want to do that?
Well, I think we need somebody from Format to answer those questions for us. I mean, if that's something, Councilwoman Dewar, that if you're interested in asking that.
Well, I mean, this is an important policy question. So I'll give you a different example. I haven't thought through this example, but let's take Tumwa. So Tumwa is a public agency. They have hydropower. They use, so they have a dam with water going across it, which generates electricity, and they use that electricity to run Tumwa. Okay, they self-supply. They don't, and my understanding is they don't sell that power off the grid either. I don't know that for sure. I think they use virtually all that they consume. So that would be a different example of a public agency self-supplying off of hydropower, lowering costs for customers to get water. So I do think it's an interesting question. I had a follow-up question, maybe related. I mean, how many acres are going to be covered by solar panels? And how much electricity do you expect to generate?
So the entire site that's going to be fenced is 50 acres, 54
50?
acres. So yeah, but that entire portion is not going to be covered in solar panels. I think it's around 30 acres, which will
30?
Yeah, for the solar panels.
And then do you know what they're expecting to generate, like kilowatts?
57 megawatt facility. I'm not sure how that, I mean, there's so many things that go into it for time of year and a day like that. So I'm not sure.
Right, but they
daily
had to
or
put a
whatever.
business case together, just like I did, to know my return on investment, even at my little house, to know that it was worthwhile to install the solar panels. So do you know, or somebody at Planning Commission is going to ask you, and someone at Regional Planning is going to ask you. Okay, so you don't have the answer now, but you should have it by then.
I will be prepared to answer those. Thank you.
Tyler.
Just to piggyback off of what Patrick had asked in terms of protected species, I drive by there every single day, that area. I've seen bears and hawks in that area. For less of a plant issue, but more of an animal issue, what happens from that perspective? Are you guys putting up barriers to keep out wildlife? Like, I just am not familiar with solar projects and just curious how you guys are handling that piece of it.
Yeah, thank you. So there is a 6-foot chain link fence that is proposed to go around the entire site, and it will be gated as well. So any maintenance workers that go in and out, that's mainly what this is for. It's for keeping out wildlife, really, and just keeping them safer. So.
And then I assume that this is different than like the site in Vegas that has the giant reflector and the heat that it produces and everything that goes along with that for birds. But what's that piece of it look like for you guys with this project?
Yeah, exactly. So this is just the same type of solar panel that you typically see installed on people's rooftops. And so it's no different than anything like that, like a rooftop solar panel. It's not reflective. It's not, concentrating the light like the stuff they have in Tonopah and around the state.
Got it. Cool. Thanks, Eric. One final question for you. Do you guys have some sense of what the life expectancy is on these solar panels? Like, are you going to have in 7 years to replace them all? Will it mostly be defunct after a certain amount of time? I'm just curious, since you can see it from the road, are these going to be here for 30 years, eventually being unused, or what does that whole piece of it look like?
Yeah, that's a question that the city also addressed to us, and we're going through that. Right now, it's looking to be like a 20 or 30-year life cycle for this, and it's not really determined if they're going to just replace them with other solar panels or what that would entail. But that's kind of the benefit with the nature of these solar panels is they don't have concrete footings. They're just driven down in there. And so by City of Reno code, if this is not used or abandoned for over a year, then they are required to remove it and return it to the natural state.
Awesome. Those are all my questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody, for your comments. Thank you so much, Eric, for your presentation today. We appreciate that. If anybody has any additional comments they'd like to submit on behalf of this project, you can fill out your project review forms and then submit those to the planner.
Yes.
For this project, please, just like we always do.
Yeah, and I guess with a few new members, I can email you that link. That's helpful.
Could you send it out to the whole group again? That would be great, and we appreciate that. All right, thank you so much, Eric. So we're gonna move on to the next development item, which is gonna be B22.
And may I ask a question? So today's world, you're all submitting your comments electronically?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And does everybody have that's on the Zoom, and do you all have where to send those? Like the form and?
Nick's usually after the meetings, he's so good. He sends us the link and then tells us where to submit the comment form.
So Amy, one of the challenges has been getting the comment form to the planner in timely manner. It's happened meeting after meeting where the comments have been sent in, but they don't make it to the planner. And then they don't get included in the packet. And so I'm just letting you know it's been an issue, but it might have been fully addressed by now.
My understanding is that the planning team has addressed that and they've added some checks to make sure that that happens. Do you want to say that at all?
Yeah, we certainly I haven't been to this NAMI before, but we've got all of them and they've received it. I will offer that if anybody has any questions, we can just send my email out after this meeting, just as a stopgap since Nick's not here. And I can get it to the right planner. I know I'm the planner for 2 of these, and I know exactly who the other 2 planners are. I can make sure I can.
Could you just give us that right now?
My email?
Yeah.
Certainly, winterj@reno.gov. So WINTERJ for Joey @reno.gov.
And it has been an issue, just so you know.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've added another kind of check to make sure that those are included in the packets before they can move on. So.
Great.
We got a third.
And we especially want to make sure they get to the planner before the planner writes our staff report, which is really the most important part of this. So that the planner understands what the NAB's thinking and then that those go to the planning commission before they, that's the goal. Okay.
Absolutely, and just for clarification, the earliest that any of these will be going to the planning commission meeting are July 21st. So that would mean the staff reports are completed about 2 weeks before. So we have plenty of time in the next week or so that will get to the planner before the staff reports ready.
Perfect.
Thank you, Joey, so much. So we'll get back to our second development project. That's going to be B22 Chick-fil-A South McCarran. A request has been made for a conditional use permit to allow an expanded drive-through facility food service west of I-580 within a 1/4 mile of a freeway off-ramp. The 1.44 acre site is located on the north side of South McCarran Boulevard, just west of Interstate 580 and 400 feet east of Kitzbühel Lake. The subject site is within the mixed-use urban MU zoning district and has a master plan use designation of suburban mixed use. We have a presenter for that today.
Hi, David, will you be presenting for that item?
Nancy is going to.
Hi, Nancy Carrera is here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, hello Nancy, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm with Interplan and I'm here representing Chick-fil-A. We are proposing a dual drive-through approach. This is to alleviate the traffic circulation, traffic congestion on this site. We're also adding an order meal delivery canopy. This will be to mirror the face-to-face canopy already existing. And it's also just to facilitate the order delivery process. We are introducing a new entrance exit along East Private Drive. This is just to but to wrap around the drive-through and bring more cars onto the site and promote a dual drive-through approach on site. And I have created a PowerPoint presentation if I'm allowed to share.
Yes, you can share your screen, Nancy.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so let's see. Share screen. Here we go. Okay, share. Wonderful. And I do have my. Okay, so can everyone see this slide?
Yes, but you're not in presentation view, just so you know.
Oh, my apologies. Stop. Where's the presentation? It should be. It says I'm sharing my screen. So, okay, is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So let me see if I can widget this out of here. Yep, okay, there we go. This is located at 6365 South McCarran Boulevard. It's an existing Chick-fil-A, extremely successful. We are looking to add a few features to the existing site. We did attend a staff meeting with Joey Winters in the city on June 9th and received some staff comments, and we've implemented those into our our proposed site plan. So the site is located on 6365 South McCarran, and it's composed of one parcel located in Washoe County with parcel identification 024-05316. I did have a different property acre, but I've pulled that from the parcel ID, and it could be wrong. The property consists of 1.405 acres to include the existing Chick-fil-A restaurant building of 4,652 square feet at the intersection of Kitzbühel Lane and South McCarran. And my apologies if I butchered that name. I'm not local. This site may be accessed through South McCarran and as well as Kitzbühel Lane. So this is our site aerial existing as it is now. Our land use is currently surrounded by commercial and retail all along South McCarran and the adjoining roads. The site is zoned mixed use, and our hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And as you probably know, they're closed on Sundays. The drive-through hours of operation are consistent and are the same as the hours of operation, which are Monday through Saturday, 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And as well, they're closed on Sunday. They typically run 15 employees per shift, and it's 3 shifts around the clock. I have included our zoning map, which is MU mixed use. And as you can see, the Chick-fil-A's in the little corner here along South McCarran. I also included our civil site plans that we've submitted for review. This is our cover page, our Alta survey. I have a demo plan, site dimension plan, and this is what we're proposing. Our striping and signage to accommodate all the new entrants and our drive-through approach. Our site grading plan, because we will need to modify the grading along the order meal delivery canopy that we're installing, and also regrade along the dual drive-through. Our site details, which are typical to Chick-fil-A, are located on the plan set as well. And we did include a preliminary landscape plan just to buff up what we were removing along Private Drive here. I also included existing site photos. I'm not local, so this is really fun for me looking this up because it's a beautiful site and a beautiful neighborhood. I like the location. So the existing dual drive-through, how we're looking to extend it would run, this is the entrance now, and we'll just pulling it back to elongate it and accommodate the dual drive-through approach. This is the face-to-face ordering canopy, and what we're proposing, the order meal delivery canopy will just mimic the existing face-to-face features and structure. Just more existing site photos for you to visualize. This is where we're proposing the order meal delivery canopy. There's currently a cover over this that will be removed and will mimic the face-to-face existing canopy in that location. So it's going to be an open air structured to provide cover for the order meal delivery canopy. And that will include fans under the canopy to alleviate the cars while they're waiting. And this is the front of the Chick-fil-A existing. Yeah. And then I did include what we're proposing. This is not the same one as in existing structures, but this is so you can visualize what we would like to put in. Oh, my apologies. And then also I've got Maggie with JLL in attendance. If there's any questions we can help with, please let me know.
Okay, so it looks like to me, these slides aren't numbered, but if the slide, the picture that's showing the cars underneath the drive-through canopy, the current where they go up to the window to pay. On the south side of that, is that where you're doing the grading where the drive-through canopy, is that where that's going to be, is south of that existing drive-through window?
The order meal delivery canopy, what we're proposing, you mean along this behind? Yes, we are going to regrade that to just expand it and add the order meal delivery.
Okay, so I understand what they're saying, but it's hard to visualize. So when the cars are in the actual drive-through where they're paying with the person, and the car is going through the order drive-through canopy, like, do they both go out at the same time, or do they touch a screen to order, and how do they get their food? I mean, it's a logistical issue with the cars of how does this work?
So their team members normally outside under the canopies, and they're taking orders and screen pads. Is this what you're talking about, the face-to-face ordering?
No, it's that when they go to the window to pay, okay, that's one line of cars. And then it looks like to me to the south side of that, where the bank is, where they're going to be doing more grading, is where that drive-through order thing is going to be. Is that correct?
So it's going to merge into one lane as well. David, is that right? Am I saying it right?
No, that's actually, we're gonna have two lanes going right through.
My apologies.
Yeah, so yeah, go to the site plan and you can see.
That's what I'm showing.
There we go. So you can see that it's two lanes that merge to one right now. And what we're doing is increasing to making a double lane all the way through, including the order point where they pick up their food and then exit. So there's two lanes simultaneously going. Both will be receiving their food as they go through.
So again, you have the one lane where they go through the drive-through where they're talking with the actual person at the window to take. And then to the south of that, you're gonna grade that slope and you're gonna have that as a second lane where the cars can drive through to do their drive-through ordering, correct?
There, I think I'm understanding what you said. So yeah, so there's either the where they order their food at the two locations, as you can see right by the existing canopy, or there will be team members there that will have pads that they will take their order. And then usually in that case, they also have team members that will take the payment before they even get to the order point. And then so the double lane will come through, and then there will be team members at the pickup window or delivery that will bring the food from there to their vehicle. And this has been quite successful for Chick-fil-A through various locations throughout the country.
So the order meal delivery canopy edition, how does that differ from just a regular drive-through?
It is when you say differ, the order you saw the picture of the canopy as it exists now. All we're going to do is just making that larger to be able to cover two. It doesn't show it there. So if you go around the trellis looking thing, yes. So that'll be just increased in size. So there'll be, right now, as you're looking at the picture, you'll see one car and they're getting their food through the window. But there'll be two cars at that location, and those columns that you see located will be actually moving further towards the street. So two vehicles can be going through at one time, and there will be a team member there that will be bringing food from the window to the vehicle on the outside lane.
Okay, so it's kind of like what they're doing, if anybody's gone to In-N-Out where they run the 2 lanes, but they're running them into one. So now they're running double lanes. It
Yes,
sounds like they're having a team member like go to the window and deliver the food to the second lane.
that's correct.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may jump in. So if anyone's been to this site, there's currently issues with stacking and blocking.
Yes.
What this proposal from Chick-fil-A is first to move the ingress and egress to the site. It's currently rotated around all the way by that car wash.
Yes.
It's gonna move that to the side, right where you enter from McCarran.
Yes.
So there's more room to stack cars on the property. The second change is right now, it starts with 2 lanes where there's people with an iPad going out taking orders. And then it bottlenecks the driveway down to 1 lane when they get their food. This proposal is to move into that hillside. This picture on the screen now is at the top of that hillside.
Yes.
They're gonna excavate in where the retaining wall is and move that back, so it stays 2 lanes the whole way. And the hope is that because there's no bottleneck, it increases the efficiency of the driveway.
So let me ask you this. So with the way the site plan is and they're cutting into they're going into that berm on the side where the landscape is, they're obviously losing landscape. Does that do anything to what the actual code is for landscape criteria? Are they adding something somewhere else?
They will comply with the landscape code. The applicant will be required to do that. They're losing landscape on top of that wall, but with the relocation of the ingress and egress point, there's more room out by the parking lot where trees will have to be replaced. That will be a requirement. This will not drop below the minimum landscape. We will make sure that is staffed.
Jack?
Thank you. So the presentation we received was a little incorrect. They're not just extending the dual drive-through and then having the bottleneck. It's the dual drive-through throughout the entire drive-through, right? But it does bottleneck at the end, correct? When they receive their food, the 2 lanes don't just go throughout, right? When they receive their food, they'll have to merge, right?
No, it will be 2 lanes the whole way.
There'll be 2 lanes the whole way.
Right now it bottlenecks to 1. It starts as 2 where you order and it comes down to 1 by the window. This proposal is
But you're right, Jack.
So, but when they get their food, both of them can't leave at the same time. Both cars can't leave at the same time, right? Because there's only 1 lane extending outwards. So there's still a bottleneck just at the end, correct?
In essence, right there where the arrow is. So what'll happen is that just like it is now, they still have the area to leave. So yes, you're correct that there will be, the cars need to make the right turn to exit out. And so the cars will have to merge together as they're exiting out of the parking lot.
Interesting. Okay. And then my only other thing was that, so to enter going down South McCarran, taking a left, you would have to take a left-hand turn onto East Private Drive, right?
I don't think you can
They
take a
can
left.
turn left.
So then you would,
It's a right turn.
so
on.
then you would have to get off at West Private Drive and going through to North Private Drive and going down East Private Drive to turn right?
The only way to get to that Chick-fil-A is you'd have to go down to South Virginia. If you're heading east on McCarran, you have to go down and do a
Right.
U-turn and
Right.
go right, or you'd have to, if you're coming at, or do a U-turn and go in off of Kidsky. So you can only, it's only right turns only to get into that.
So you'd have to make the U-turn at South Virginia though,
Yeah.
right?
None of the external ingress and egress to the site are proposed to be modified. It's only where the entrance to the Chick-fil-A property is and where the entrance to the drive-thru is. Everything on McCarran will stay the same. There's no changes there.
Donna,
I don't really understand how having 2 lanes doesn't do anything except make it great that you're not trying to get out of the place.
well, right now, which, have you been over to Chick-fil-A like at lunchtime? The cars are coming out in front of, on the private drive, the way it's set up now, they're stacking out onto that private drive in front of that car wash. So there's there's a bottleneck. By taking the dual lane, it's gonna allow more flow for traffic inside of the parcel itself. So the parcel will be more self-sufficient with being able to hold more cars and get those cars off of that private drive.
Okay, so you're saying that the stacking then is more internal.
Yes, correct.
I see. I did have a different question. On your drawing, you have an infiltration trench underneath one of the 2 questions about that. A, what's it for? And it looks like, well, you can tell me what it is. Do you know what I'm talking about? Mr. Consultant?
I didn't quite understand what you said. Could you repeat that?
I'm sorry, on the drawing that shows your internal circulation, and there's a lot of red on it, site drawing. I don't know which one, 703. On the.
Which one are you looking at, Donna?
So Nancy, could you put the site plan back up?
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
Okay, so what?
Don't see like that either, so I don't know. But
Okay, can you see that?
Okay,
so it's
so
got a lot of red lines on it. That's what I'm looking for.
I think that was from the application.
Yeah, we don't have that one
That's
in the
not in our
presentation.
application.
That's correct. I'm sorry. Okay, this is from the application. I guess, I can show it to you. Anyway, on the top of the page of one of your design drawings, there's a reference to an existing infiltration trench to be removed. Does that ring a bell?
Man, I represent Chick-fil-A as well as a construction manager.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the stormwater retention, and we're just relocating it. It
You're
might not show on
relocating
that.
it, is what you said?
It's part of their stormwater retention.
Okay.
We're relocating it just a little bit south land, right outside of the drive-through.
Because it says on the drawing that it can be, to be removed, would need a variance to remove it or possibly pay a fee for stormwater waiver.
It's not removing that, it's right.
relocating it. So are you talking about the storm drain detention area? We're having a hard time understanding because of the distance away from the mic for have a hard time hearing you. But if you're talking about on the demolition plan, because of the reconfiguration of the parking lot, if you notice that the parking is now going north and south instead of east and west with the new layout and with the new double drive-through, the configuration of the drainage system had to change. And so we are just relocating. So one will be removed, but a new one will be installed. Does that make sense?
It does, I just was thinking, what, we can pay money to not have to do this? This is the drawing I'm looking at from the application.
This is busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this.
For the gentleman on the phone, our NAB member is consulting with your other partner in the room.
Great. That's awesome. Well, Maggie, it was great to be there.
Madam Chair, if I may, just for the benefit of the NAB, the relocation of any stormwater infrastructure, that would occur at the building permit stage. This request right now is just for the reconfigured drive-through. When the building permits and site improvement permits come in, city staff will ensure that all of the city's requirements will be complied with. We're not to that point of the review yet, but we will get there and nothing will be approved without making sure the ordinance is followed.
Just wanted to know what that drawing said. Thank you.
We tend to be a little very thorough in this one, Joey, just to let you know.
Certainly, it is the best word.
Is there any other comments from our board members? Anybody on Zoom this evening? Have any more questions for Nancy or David? None? Jeff?
I'll just add that as this NAB knows with drive-throughs, it's very appreciative that we have a institution trying to take some proactive action, alleviating traffic issues.
I agree.
Very appreciative.
Yeah,
I was just asking about that. Sorry, I haven't felt in the fight. I'm kidding. I'm your best customer. It's way better than ours.
Madam Chair, I would just clarify that there's existing drive-through there. So this is a request to modify it.
Yes.
If this request were denied by planning commission, it wouldn't eliminate the drive-through and eliminate the existing problems. It would just not allow them to improve it.
No, we seem to have all the problem child with drives and drive-throughs and copy drive-throughs and drive-through windows in Ward 2.
And the problem is, Joey, the issues have been identified at the NAP. They have been provided to the planner. They have not been addressed, they've been built, and then we go into code enforcement. And it's happened several times. So that's why I think it sounds like this is an improvement, right? You're gonna widen, you're gonna allow more cars to go through. It sounds like an overall improvement. You are gonna cut into the side of the hillside, which isn't very good. Gonna lose some vegetation, which isn't as good, but at least you're gonna reduce congestion, which is very good. So I would say overall net for the NAB to think about in contrast to some we've looked at, which are hanging cars out on Virginia Street, don't have enough land to accommodate the drive-through, have stacking every which way, blocking traffic on main arterials. You know, all of those issues, this is the challenge here at the NAB, is they've identified them. Not me, but the NAB members. And then the permits get issued anyway. And so I think that's probably why they're doing the extra due diligence here right now. But I appreciate it very much. But I am giving you a little background so that all three of you, Tristan, Amy, and Joey, understand what's been the history for 8 years, right? So you should pardon them if they're a little cynical and understand where they're coming from. Just trying to avoid problems. Wanted to make sure they didn't miss something. That is an improvement and a betterment, not a detriment.
Yes.
So
well said. And we do appreciate Chick-fil-A being proactive and working on what's been an issue for a while, because we recognize, you know, the issue as well. And so thank you. And thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. But, you know, but plus it helps business. So. All right, so if there's no more questions, and thank you so much, Nancy and David. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This will definitely be solve some traffic issues that are on the site and help everybody and all the neighbors concerned. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Get ready for planning.
Those are softball questions.
That's right. All right, we're gonna head on to item B23. We have Joey today, who's gonna be talking with us about this. This is Elite Boat and RV Storage, LVC 22-00080. A request has been made for a conditional use permit to allow a mini warehouse facility which will store boats, RVs, and trailers. The 1.77 acre subject site is located in the Foothill Commerce Center. With access from South Meadows Marketplace Drive, the subject site is within the mixed-use suburban zoning district and has a master plan use designation of suburban mixed use.
Yes, certainly. And I'll just jump up here. The applicant for this item is not here tonight. She is having a granddaughter through induced labor. It's a couple that owns this site and would like to operate it. It's in the Foothill Commerce Center. So that's right off South Virginia. It's behind, there's like an AT&T building and some car dealerships, and then there's the large grocery store there. It's the first suite on the left if you come into the site, so there's a little bit of vegetation. And what they are proposing is to store boats and RVs by appointment. Basically, if you want to store your RV there, you call in ahead of time and say, I would like to drop it off. You come and drop it off. When you're ready to pick it up, you call back and come pick it up.
Can we bring that up on Google Maps? Can you pull that site up for us so we can kind of tell what we're doing here? We appreciate that. Thank you.
And Tristan, I think it's 9712 or 9721 South Virginia Street. Sort of near where Holcomb Ranch meets.
9712.
I think so. 9780 will get you there. There we go.
That's New York.
South Virginia. So right where it says that Sherman Williams paint store, just to orient everyone, I think that's the highway to the left, and then South Virginia is the street where the Tires Plus is, and you see those two restaurants, and you would loop in by the Winco, and then the Foothill Commerce Center is those rectangular buildings up right above the cursor right
Can
here.
you actually blow that up just a skosh? Thank you.
So it's right, and actually where you see that gymnastics academy, right there, it is that building, and it's south of that. It's the first, and maybe Tristan, if you could turn on the satellite view. So you'll see, and you see that backyard there, no, right above, right there where your cursor is the back area where they'll be storing boats. And then there's also a suite within the white building right to the right of the cursor where there will be internal storage as well. So the previous use of this site was somebody was storing their private collection in there. So that's just warehousing. And therefore it's not mini warehousing. There are different uses under the zoning code. It's a little wonky, but the warehousing was allowed by right, no permission from planning commission. The mini warehouse, which this falls under, requires this additional conditional use permit process. And that's why this is going to a public hearing.
I have a question, and I apologize to go in before the NAB, but I have a lot of experience right at the spot where Holcomb and is it Sierra, what's the one?
Yes, Sierra Manor, yeah.
Sierra Manor and Holcomb come together. So the NAB, even though that shows empty ground, that was to the left of our screen. That was planned to be an apartment complex, if I've got this right. I do.
North of Holcomb.
What's it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being 18 townhomes, I want to say. If you go a little further to the west, Tristan, there's a bunch of private homes.
Yeah, I don't think they're built yet, but where those
Yeah,
cul-de-sacs are, those are the Desert Wind by Holcomb.
Yes, the
Yes.
Desert Wind.
Those streets are for it, the houses just.
That's
aren't
what I
built
wanted to
yet.
say. So there's water issues here, some flooding across this property that they still hadn't worked out until they got to building permit phase. But going back to Virginia, where Sierra Manor comes in, and you see where Holcomb is, coming south on Virginia, you have to make an acute turn, not a 90-degree turn, but you have to, if you're taking a right, you have to go back. And what I'm a little concerned about is vehicles coming south on Virginia to take a left on Holcomb to get to this place that you're talking about, boat storage.
No, it would be completely different.
What would they do?
They would go in by the Winco. It's like south.
So they would enter into the Winco.
Yeah, down here, South Marketplace, and then come all the way up.
So they'd go into the.
So, yeah, Tristan, if you
South
start to
Meadow.
go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so there's.
Much better.
And Councilwoman, actually, we had a different project that came in for a completely different reason over on Holcomb Ranch, and nobody had concerns about the project. So we actually brought this to, it's NDOT roads. We flagged it for NDOT, about a month ago due to a completely different reason, but we've heard about this and
You have,
yes.
because when we did the South Reno Road study with RTC, this acute turn, that intersection where Sierra Manor and Holcomb come together, one of the things they recommended was coming south on Virginia, that they put in one of those kind of right curving lanes where you could, yeah, right? So that you could smoothly turn onto that road. And then I just wondered, so they won't enter from Virginia. They will go through the Wingco, then go back through those roads back there.
Yeah, you would come right where the red dot is.
Yeah.
You would turn off South Virginia there,
Yeah.
continue east
Yeah.
and then north.
Right there.
And that little patch of
Going
grass
there.
right there is that's the
And they can
sweet.
get through there?
Yes, they
Oh.
can. There's several businesses back there. There's another car collection farther up that they
Gotcha.
need to get those.
Well, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just been there, done that with this whole little like place.
Absolutely. And just to pick up that they need this conditional use permit because it falls on the mini warehouse use because they're storing other people's cars there. It's under review. The main things that staff has looked at from this point is number one, security of that back lot, making sure there's adequate lighting, and then also adequate screening via landscaping and fencing so that the other neighbors can't see that. And we will go through and make sure it's conditioned appropriately. Also, these are all private, they're actually access easements. They're not city roads, but it's still in the Foothill Commerce Center and they're still big boats. So we want to make sure we're working with the applicant to make sure that all drop off and pickup of these large vehicles, again, it's by appointment only, don't impede traffic for the rest of the people in the Foothill Commerce Center. That's mainly what the review is focused on at this point, but it's still under review. It's scheduled to go to Planning Commission on July 21st. So if anybody has any comments tonight or in the next week or so, we can incorporate that in the staff report. And as I said, the applicant, it's a couple that's working on it. She's having a granddaughter, hopefully already has a granddaughter, and that's why she couldn't come tonight. But I do have the applicant's contact. I forwarded it to Nick, and he can get it to you all, or I can get it to you all if you want to have any concerns directly for the applicant.
Any questions from the board, Jeff?
I'm just curious, what constitutes a mini warehouse facility? Like, what's their capacity for how many boats and RVs and trailers are they going to be storing?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Jack. It's not the volume, it's actually the use itself, the fact that they're storing other people's. The main limiting factors usually are obviously the size of the building, the size of the site constraints, and then parking. You need to provide adequate parking. They are via that, we just took it down, but there's that side aisle that has enough parking. There's a little parking in front as well, but it becomes a mini warehouse because of how they're using the site, not because they're storing more boats or anything like that.
Anybody in Zoom have any questions? Patrick, Mara, Tyler, anybody?
That was my question. Like, what's their maximum amount? And how does that impact the traffic flow of that area?
So the maximum amount, again, is based on the parking limit is really what usually limits this stuff. It's based on a certain square footage, like, let's say, and this isn't the number, but I think like for every 350 square feet of area used for storage, you're required to have one parking space. And it would get to the point where if you have too much storage space, then you need too much parking. And that's sort of the limiting factor. It's not limited on like number of boats or number of RVs. It's literally square footage of floor space. So it's not like you could have 10 boats, but if they have 10 boats one day and then 20 smaller boats that are half the size, like as long as you have the floor space and you have adequate parking for it, then that would be the limiting factor, really.
Anybody else?
There is no concern that little side street continues to be the only way in and out of that entire industrial Windco area.
So this is only a review for the use. That Foothill Commerce Center was already built out. So they're not changing anything that would require.
But Foothill Commerce also has restrictions related to activity on that road, especially when you start to talk about holiday times, because Minco owns the controlling interest and they have real concerns about their customers' ability to get into and out of that parking area.
Yeah, so certainly I don't have all the information from it in front of me, and I'm not the one doing that, but I would love it if you could send me a comment with concerns
We
about
just
that.
bought that New York pizza building on the corner.
And we'll,
I'm terrified.
yeah.
That's where we're putting Rusty Taco.
And we'll look into it and analyze it. The access is usually the fire department, the fire marshal looks at it, and our engineering
So
staff.
that's not part of this
so I don't-
conditional use permit?
No, reconfiguring the access, I don't believe, and I don't have it in front of me, but they're not doing it like in the code, there's certain traffic levels. If you hit a certain threshold, like generating more vehicle trips, it would be looked at. I don't think they're hitting that, but I don't have that guaranteed in front of me right now.
It's a storage facility.
Yeah, the vehicle trips per day generated by this will be
It'd be so
pretty
nice
low.
if they open another road to the north.
What is the size of these boats are you referring to? Are these vehicles? You say large.
Yeah, so I don't have
Are
that
they
specific.
yachts?
I think the way their operations were typically described is people, you're not allowed to store your personal boat in your front yard per our ordinance, so people need places to store this, and they want it inside as well. But it's not going to be anything that's too big that they can't maneuver in to the facility.
Anyone else? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jordan, and all the good job of explaining.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going on to our last development project, certainly last but not least, B24 Dolan Properties, LDC 220082. A request has been made for one, a tentative map to establish an 18-lot townhome subdivision, two, a conditional use permit to allow for a hillside development, grading for cuts more than 20 feet and fills greater than 10 feet, and C, cluster development, and three, a minor deviation related to the hillside density requirement. The 8.05 acre site is located 1,000 feet south of the intersection of Claim Jumper Way and Telluride. No, Tellurium, thank you.
One of our minerals.
Tellurium Mine Road in the unincorporated transition area with a unincorporated transition master plan use designation. There is a concurrent request to amend the master plan use designation to single-family neighborhood and amend the zoning to single-family residential, 8 dwelling units per acre. I think our speaker today is Mr. Munson. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Where should I be up here?
Yeah.
Is there?
Welcome, Mr. Kropotkin.
Hi, Mimi. Thank you.
Welcome, John, and nice to see you guys back again.
Thank you. Glad to be here. John's the man tonight.
John's the man here. All eyes are on you, John.
Okay, our presentation, and is that someone? Okay. Good evening. For the record, John Munson with Venture Engineering. You're representing the project. The property developer owner, Jim Dolan, is in the audience, as well as Tracy Wilson we'll talk about the horses and gates issues that we have and some of the things we're providing. She's here to answer questions as well. So we were here a couple months ago for the master plan amendment. The master plan amendment, this property is zoned UT 40. This is the site right here. Let's just go over the location of it. This is the Palisades. This is the Potomac water tank with the dirt road going up to it. Right now, this is gated off here for Potomac access. Canyons PUD that was recently approved is these two parcels right here. And then we've been to this board previously about the Canyons Edge, which is joining the Canyons PUD and extension of the Canyons PUD. This site is totally separate, not part of the PUD, standalone master plan and zoning. Next slide.
John, you have been already to the planning commission on have you haven't been, you guys went last week for the other project.
We were here 2 months ago.
Okay, for this one, okay, so.
Right, yeah, so 2 months ago, we were here, we were doing the master plan amendment separately because it takes the longest. And we really didn't have everything we needed for zone change or tentative map. But we did bring a plan with us at that time, and there was questions about the plan. Each time you present a concept plan, there's gonna be questions. So we thought maybe we should go ahead and postpone a little bit and prepare a tentative map plan, do the whole thing. So we're presenting the whole package at one time. But originally we were coming in just to master plan amendment from UT 40. And it's just like a lot of these other ones, when they come in to the city, they were in the county, they come into the city, there's no zoning, they were general rural, so they give them a transition zoning UT 40. I think all the Palisades was probably UT 40 at one time, and then they carved this out, did all their entitlements for all that, and it's just stayed there at UT 40. So it's non-conforming, one lot for 40 acres, but you could build one house on it, it would be conforming, but it's not technically conforming to UT. So next slide. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you skipped a slide.
Yeah, so real fast, and it'll just, it'll be a master plan amendment to single family, which all this is SF, so we'd be going to SF. Should be together, so the color all matches. I mean, there really isn't anything, any other master plan. The next one would be a higher density master plan. It would stand out, obviously, the different color, but it would be an island of higher density, so it's.
Don, before you leave that one, what is the SR next to it?
Suburban residential, I think, in the county. This is in the county.
In the county, and so,
Rural
but,
residential and suburban residential.
so do you know what the density of those are? Like UT 40 is one house per 40. Do you know SR and RR?
I do not. This is probably in the 10-acre range. I'm not really.
Well, John Kropotnik's on there, does he know?
Mr. Kropotnik, do you know the answer?
Yeah, on suburban residential,
Yeah.
that's the master plan designation in the county that
Yeah.
includes any of the suburban zoning designations.
Does it have a density that goes with it?
It's a range. It goes up to. I'll look at the range and get back to you on that. Is that
Okay.
Naomi asking the question?
It is, and then could you tell me on RR too, because there's SR and RR throughout the map to the south side.
Right. Rural residential is 1/10, Naomi.
Okay.
That's in the constrained area, a little more topographic. Of course, we're not showing topo here. And then UT over there to the east.
Right, and then SR, we don't know yet.
Suburban res, yes. It includes, I mean, I know you know this, but it is an important point to make. That is, suburban res includes all of the residential zoning classifications.
All zoning classifications?
All the suburban residential zoning classifications. I'm going to get it for you while
Okay.
John's speaking. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Much less.
Just because it's down next to, it looks like Caramella, if that's right, I'm not sure. Down to next to the PQP, the purple, the SR, and then the SPA. The yellow, I think, is Caramella, not sure. I think the R is the pit, maybe, so I might be wrong. That might be Purdy Ranch. Purdy Ranch. And then that R is the pit right there. Does that look right? Okay.
Again, county zoning, they would have to annex this piece of property. I mean, I'll be honest, this is a fairly eligible piece of property. They might come in someday and ask for annexation.
But that's not you or these owners.
No, we're not associated. And so SF, again, in the city of Reno, this would be the zoning that blends in the same zoning as next door. Versus, the PUD, that's, well, it's still SF, yeah. Even the PUD is a zoning, this is all still SF. So we came here for the master plan previously. We decided to go back, do a tentative map. So we had a plan that we could talk about, and give you the whole package. So let's move right on into the plan. So this is the approved Canyons PUD. This is the existing Palisades. And the water tank here, our access would be here. It follows the water tank, but it's not on top of the water tank road. The reason for that is the water tank is too steep. Usually Tomo doesn't allow such a steep road, but they allowed it to be about 11.5%. So we can't, no matter what we do, stay on that road without cutting it. It's got their transmission main in it, you really can't cut it. Then we end up 10 feet too low. So we're gonna go right next to it and be lower than that, but a lot flatter, relatively speaking, flatter, in order to get to the project. There's still, you could still cut over here, connect the two, but it'd be a steep road. So really gonna have two roads there. One's paved, Tomo might pave their road, but Tomo's road is only 15 feet wide, so it's not too obtrusive. And we, the proposed landscaping plan, we have a row of trees between the two roads. So really, you're only gonna see one road. The neighborhood's gonna see one road and then trees. And if you're up over here, you're gonna see this road and trees. Probably never gonna really see two roads. Plus, there's not traffic on Thomas. So the other option for access would be potentially coming off the future canyons and winding up there, but that was a lot more disturbance. So we chose this road and the map looks pretty good. And then we get up here on top, we have environmentally sensitive design. We've maintained mostly open space. We've got existing trees here and slope. And then this existing slope, we're really pretty much just developing the very top flat portion of the site. Clustering all the townhomes, doing the cluster development, which is the city wants us to do, preserving all the trees over here, and open space. So that's just a close-up view. The green is open space, the yellow would be developed area. Public street, we have public street parking on one side of both streets. We really have emergency parking coming up all the way in case someone needs to pull over or break down and we can still get a fire truck by. Gas parking. We have parking on one side, which is there's about 18 spaces between here and here. And then everyone has a 2-car garage. The reason I didn't park both sides, in hillside development projects, you're encouraged to reduce street widths to minimize disturbance. We're doing that, and I just think having a car parked here is just, not good. We're only gaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 parking spaces, but at the expense of pushing this all out. We are, like I say, I'm making this road as steep as we can and getting this as high as we can to minimize cut. So we're not trying to cut at the hillside. We are cutting some, but we just can't get up high enough. And in turn, these lots are in fill because the road is as high as we can get. But instead of putting all our dirt, sloping it down, there's a terracing it with tiers of rockery walls. So it's just going to be this is like 10, 20 feet between here and the end of the table. That's it. And in between each bench is a 6-foot bench with landscaping. And the same here, we're terracing in a cut situation here. Preserving the existing dirt roads, which is legal access. All these dirt roads are legal access. So these easements would go away. These property owners would now have access here, and then they can come here. It's really just, I don't know, there's lots of bigger parcels. I don't know who actually would use that. The Stanley parcel is right here. Stanley actually has an easement from Lennar that goes through here to get to the house that's up there. So I doubt he would ever use it, but it is there for the horses. And go up one horse ride. In terms of the horse fencing, we would be proposing to basically start a fence down here, bring it all the way up here to these existing dirt roads, and then we put a vehicle gate that was accessed by the people who have legal right to access that by their vehicle. And an emergency horse gate. You just bring the horse out of there, you can open that gate. But then a primary gate would just be a pedestrian gate. So you just open the pedestrian gate, discourage vehicle movements. And then down here, for Tumwa, we would connect it to Tumwa's Road and give them a driveway. Then we have a gate here that would probably have a cattle guard, the same as that's here now, the big cattle guard. So it would be a big gate with a cattle guard, and then it would all be fenced off. Keep the horses going this way, but if they have to be put in the trailer, we can get them out here. They can get them out there.
Don, while you're on that slide, if I may, just where you were just pointing, you said it would be a pedestrian gate, but you just also said that there might be parcels up in the hills that might use that road. So would there be potentially a cattle guard and a vehicle gate there to drive through?
There would be a vehicle gate that would.
Okay, I only heard you say pedestrian, so I wasn't.
Yeah, pedestrian and a gate that's emergency horse gate / locked vehicle gate. I think the people who wouldn't be, could just open it.
John,
the legal easements.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but at that point, with Tracy and I talked about this, we're gonna have an emergency gate and a pedestrian gate down there. The other gate on top, we're gonna have a gate with cattle guard and a pedestrian gate. Anyone can access that other road through the tank road and get to that other road. But the one down below, to Naomi's point, is just a pedestrian gate, an emergency gate.
You may see down below this one.
No, down below there is pedestrian gate, emergency gate.
That is the one I was asking about because
No vehicular gate?
No, but it has to be wide enough for Tracy to get a horse through that gate.
The
without
reason I'm
having-
asking is, as I recall, because I've had to deal with this before, it seems like up in the hills there are other people's properties that have access maybe. And I was just wondering, do they have access this way or do they go behind a different way?
So, Tracy Wilson for the record, I believe that the road.
Can you come up? I mean, just.
If I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the road for these actually shoots off there is an existing dirt road
Right
here.
Right.
That is still accessible. That comes up towards the tower. This area, where this little
Right.
fork in the dirt road is, that only leads to Brad Stanley's private.
Oh, okay. And it's not through his property to others. It's-
Right, this is the one, because there's actually been a dirt road that comes back here behind. the
That's what I was
water tower
asking
and
about.
up into the hills.
Okay,
That still
thank
is
you.
available for.
And one of the reasons I'm asking is one of Tracy's challenges and many property owners' challenges is that every time they believe they get fenced out of their access up into these upper parcels in the Virginia range, they either end up cutting the gate, making their own gate, driving through the fence, or there are kids that do the same that don't have legal access. And so I was just trying to figure it out, what.
I
But
think
thank
I'll
you.
go with what, if we would try for no vehicular gate then. and
Right
unless
there.
Somebody complained and said, look, I have legal right to be here. You need to provide access. I can't see Stanley doing that because he has other ways in.
Right.
There's this easement right there. There's no road there though, but he does have another road. But
Yeah.
you just never know. These easements here are from a land map 25 that created all these 40-acre parcels, and they're on each side of every property. So technically, someone might want to go this way
Right.
with a Jeep or something, but
That's what I was asking.
it's very slim.
And it sounded like you'd done good research as far as that these are public access roads.
Right, yeah, from land map 25. Then the county also has a map that says presumed public roads. These aren't on them, but the county does consider dirt roads presumed public at times, which all this is county property. So it's just different.
Well, it's in the county, but it isn't necessarily county property, right? It's private property, most of it.
Right, but they have the presumed public roads go through the back.
I'm gonna ask a personal favor. I would love to see that map. If you know where to find that map.
Okay.
I would love
I'll
to
look
see that.
for it.
That would be great. Thank you.
This way. So then we go to the zoning, which is the next part of the application. Can't have a tentative map without zoning. It's currently zoned UT 40, same as the master plan. QT is the master plan, UT 40 is the zoning. And then proposed zoning, and then here's the county zone. So medium density suburban. So those are, I think, equivalent to this, like 15,000 square foot lots.
For some reason, I think it's 3 to the acre, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is correct, Naomi. Just to answer, you're correct. MDS is 3. To go back to your question about what's allowed in suburban res, there's 3 designations. One is low density residential, the other is medium, the other is high. L is 1 per acre, MDS is 3, H is 7 per acre, all allowed in the suburban residential master plan, just for
I
background.
must have learned something sitting here for 8 years. I don't know.
Yeah, but you are correct. MDS is 3. That's the easy answer on this one.
Okay, thank you.
So our proposed zoning is SF8. What's the next slide?
And a question there is SF8, is that the new term? Is that 8 per acre or is that 8,000? What is that done?
8 units per unit.
8 to the acre.
We feel that's appropriate because we have such a small little area that we're building on. And if we had all 8 acres, that would be 64. It's really 2.5 acres.
2.5.
That would-
Do you know what your whole, is the whole site, like 5 or 10? 8.
Full site's 8 acres.
8.
We're dedicating approximately 5.3 acres of open space. And the rest will be roads, lots, and landscape.
And when you say dedicating, do you mean leaving it open or do you mean dedicating it to open?
It'll be open space in the association. So it's still belong to the common area association.
Common area, but not open space to the public?
No.
Okay.
Unless the city would, take it. Like the PUD, for instance, they have a PUD, their open space is semi-public, I believe. But again, the HOA retains the ownership of all the open space. It's not public lands. But it can be used. They have public trails going through. We have those private dirt roads going through. Can't close those off. The horses would migrate through around.
John, is that road going to be public or private? Is that road public or private? That goes up to the homes?
We're proposing this to be public street, city arena.
So theoretically, the places you've left for parking along the road could be used by the public.
Yeah.
Go through the pedestrian gate and go hiking over to Brad Stanley's property or somebody.
They could. I mean, I think we would have to post the signs. I don't know if it would be no trespassing. I don't know. I guess it would be up to Brad if we wanted to have a no trespassing sign.
Hey, John.
Yes.
May I comment? I mean, Naomi brought up a point we've discussed amongst the team. There's an opportunity for de facto trail, public access, public parking here with access into wildlands. If this is dedicated as a public street, different if it's treated as a private street. That's still a, pending issue. Right, John?
Right, yeah, I mean, the city,
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. Anybody can park on a public street. Not everyone can park on a private street. So you answered Mimi's question, it'd be a public street, so that means a public could park there. Therefore, the next question, since you're retaining this as open space around there, the next natural question would be, and you said there's already access or a trail or an easement or a dirt road, that's the next question. It's just, can they use that? You already said there'd be a pedestrian gate through there. So it sounds like a yes.
I'm thinking it's a yes, unless it becomes a problem and it's abused and, we're not supposed to be doing, then it would probably blocked up. Because this would be where the public access would end, so yes, they could park there. But I'm sure the residents, yes, would walk around here, and that's fine, because this actually belongs to the association, all that belongs to the association. You're not gonna know where this line is. So really, de facto, they get, to walk around all that. However far they want to go, not too many people are gonna, people who currently do it are gonna probably want to use that area.
Well, one reason, I'll just be transparent why I'm asking, is I mentioned earlier that I'm working pretty hard on a Virginia Range open corridor across the entire Virginia Range. And I'm looking for various places that are parking places or trailheads. One of them is on Caramella, 5 acres on the other side of the pit, that they dedicated that 5 acres for a park. It's probably gonna be more of a parking area, open space, picnic table, trailhead. If this is another one, we had another one that came in that just had 6 parking spots. It was in the North Valleys. They had a similar development. They allowed at the end, on the side of their street, 6 parking spots at the end of their cul-de-sac, actually, to go up it, and up is Reno public land, Washoe County public land, and federal public land, all there. This is not public land, but I hope to obtain an easement, access, purchase, whatever, for this corridor. So I'm just trying to think ahead. That's all.
Yeah, I don't believe we have any problem with having that on the plan or as part of the project.
We've done the
As long as
same
it
thing
doesn't
with
get out of
Tumwa.
hand, it can be controlled.
We've done the same thing with Tumwa. So I'm on their board, and in several places, they have either water tanks or water reservoirs, and we've made those open to public access too. So you're right next to them, so who knows?
Hey, John, I had a question about the hillside density requirement, see a minor deviation, what's your guys' deviation to that hillside requirement?
Well, we're asking because we do have 2.5 acres clearly developable land. And so that would be, it's like 20 homes. We're asking for 18. The slope map only gives us like 60. So we're asking for a 10% adjustment in the hillside numbers to get us to 18, which closely aligns with the disturbed area, the available developed area. So that's the minor.
One thing we always like to see is the slope map. I was gonna ask you, but I didn't see one in your presentation. Do you have one? John Kropotic usually does have one.
I'm sorry, was there a question for me? I didn't hear what
You usually provide us with a slope map in your presentations.
I do, yes.
That one with the color with the green on it.
Thank you.
It's got the topo on it. Pretty much looking at mostly reds in here, reds in here, and greens and yellows in here. So our original concept plan that we came in with, we actually had some lots hanging out to the red. So we tightened that up, pushed them out of the 30% area. So we're pretty much sticking in the 20% range, 0 to 20% for our developed area.
Hey, John, if you are near screen sharing, it looks like there is one on page 7 of this staff report or some kind of application. Donna had it. It's on page 7.
I'm completely, you're asking me, Naomi Kropotic
Yes.
here. I don't even know I'm kind of, no, I mean, I'm flat footed here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What you're saying to show a slope map? Yeah.
I was just showing.
I will tell you, John Munson is absolutely correct on the fitting of lots to the terrain. It's, it's 70%, what is it, 70% open space and just using the primarily 0 to 20% area, and there's always a little bit of spillover, right? The power greater than all of us.
We're not touching any of the red over here, and we're not touching any of that. We might
What's
touch
it?
pieces of it.
If you want to show it to the camera.
Yeah, you can show it to the camera.
We'll show on.
And maybe we can see it.
Yeah, we might even be able to see it. There we
Look at that.
go.
There we go.
Wow.
Well, there we go.
Just say, go back.
All right.
This is,
There you go.
That's the best we can get.
Anyway, you can see the green swath in the middle. That's where we are. That's where the homes are. 85–90% of the development is in that area. Where we touch some of the chips of the red barely. But all that green is 0 to 20. The yellow would be where we get to 25. Excuse me, 0 to 15. Yeah, the greens are up to 25 actually, and the yellow is over 25. So anything in the green is 0 to 25. Yellow. We're out of the yellow.
All right. Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
All right, do we have any questions of board members? Jack?
No, I just had one question about, I know because it's a little farther away, I think past projects included fire sprinklers, I believe, in these units. Is that the same with this project as well?
We have to have fire sprinklers.
Okay.
Hey, just the length of the road up there, our code requires it. And so we'd be, even though we're right next to a water tank, we're actually waiting sort of the project out, and it's a much higher tank and providing better fire flow for this area. Right now, this tank would much for fighting a fire right here.
Thanks for being our last development project here. You guys are waiting
Any
for a
fault
while.
lines up there, and where's the drainage go?
Okay, that was a question that the previous, we had previous plan. So the drainage, this whole thing slopes this way down to Palisades. And there's you can see this little creek here. It used to be a natural creek, and then they built a slope over it. And then they've actually captured it all with a ditch that goes this way. It goes down to a detention pond. So the whole site, including a pretty large area up here, does that. So we could do that. And we could, I'm catching everything in the street, we can catch basins here. We could bring this right back here, take it down, but my plan and the report was to go ahead and build a ditch along this road all the way down. It's actually on the side, all the way down to tie into the main ditch that goes through the Palisades. And this is like 5 acres or 8 acres of drainage in a 700-acre drainage watershed. So we should have little effect on that. And then we're taking away the runoff, some of the runoff that flows down this hill.
Just want to make sure we weren't helping those people down there on Claim Jumper Way with their watering, right? So.
Right, we're
You're keeping your water
reducing,
on and
we're
off.
reducing the impact to those people one way or the other. Either, it's very insignificant. The development itself doesn't increase flow very much, but by taking this and combining it with a much larger watershed, we're having net zero effect, and we're reducing runoff down to
How far are the townhomes from those other homes in the Palisades?
they're about 300 feet.
1 or 2 story?
Your townhomes are I think two-story?
Yes.
So does
They're
that,
split level, these are all split level,
Yeah.
so.
does that become their view? I'm just trying to get clear. Does that become those homes right there's view of the townhomes?
No, I think they have a view of all of this hillside, which continues to climb well above the elevation of the home, so. You know, it's gonna be, they're gonna be there to look at, but they're not gonna block it. See above it, see around it.
Any other questions? Patrick, Mara, Tyler?
I'm good.
Can I
I
ask,
think there's some questions in the chat.
Okay, I saw that.
Mimi, can I ask one quick clarification?
Tyler, yes.
Is the water tank that's there, and I should know this at this point and being on the NAB, but are we piping into city water, or we're pulling completely for these homes from a water tank? How does that piece of it work?
We will be using tunnel water. And it's provided, again, not by this tank, but by a future water tank built with the canyons. The canyons will have 70 some units served off the tank. They have a booster station. The booster station, let me go back to that previous map. So their booster station is gonna be like right here. Somewhere in here, I think it's gonna be somewhere in here. So they're gonna, right now, the water main is right here and pumps up to this tank. So they basically have enough pressure to get it to like right here. Can't go much farther than that. This is like the pressure zone. Toma can't push it any farther, so that the pump station can pump up from there, clear up the hill. And then we would tie on there and come back. So we would actually be serving from the booster station, but for fire protection, we have the gravity tank.
And I'm sorry, this might be a question for city staff, but so does that water tank get filled then by the, I guess, the TUMWA system? So it like pushes water up into the tank, gets stored in the tank, and then the residents access water from that tank?
Right.
Okay.
It's usually filled in off-peak hours, and then the tank is gravity fed for the day.
Got it. Okay. I was just curious, and the reason for asking the questions was because I was wondering, as people build out this hillside with vegetation, with trees, with whatever else they're planting, does that become a strain on the water tank, or how does that factor into the whole equation?
Someone just requires you to dedicate water rights for everything that you're providing. They put it in the model. So when projects come on, if the model requires additional improvements, they put that on that next project. So whatever these projects, this one included, and the canyons at the canyon's edge, will be providing a huge amount of new infrastructure. Someone, like I say, all someone can do right now is pump it about to right here. They have the flow, they just don't have the pressure to get it any farther. But there's never been anything in our discoveries with someone that says they don't have the flow capacity.
Got
So,
it.
like, what water is in that tank? Who is using the storage there today? Do you
This
know?
one?
Yeah, the one that's already there.
Yeah, all this.
So that tank is for Palisades.
Yes.
And that's the storage.
And Double Diamonds, Double Diamond 4 is the name of it, so. I don't know where the next, there's another tank way over there.
Thank you, Tyler. It looks like we have, there's a question in the chat or comment.
Can you read that, Tristan?
Yeah. Is the stormwater going to be diverted through the ditch going through the north side of Golden Hills? And is the water tank going to affect the pressure in residences down below the project?
It's actually going to go through this drainage right here, which is the big drainage that comes it's all starting almost the same place. This one just goes this way. It's hard to say where this one originally went that way. So all of this originally went into this, but Wood Rogers decided to divert it that way. So we were actually just going to divert it back half of it. But it's this little draw that goes through the middle of Palisades and Golden. That one's its way over there. Which there is another ditch over there. So just off the screen between next to Golden Hills.
Any other comments, board members?
Is there another chat?
These were shown earlier.
Can you read it louder? too?
Yeah, so this one was shown earlier, are two comments. How are the residents going to exit? Our traffic now is already heavy. And there are 18 condos shown in the 1.5 acres. Is this within the proposed zone?
Well, for traffic, condos are less than a single family home. We have about traffic, about 7 trips per day for townhome versus 10 for single family home. We're going to, the analysis that we've seen with the canyons and everything, there was about 100 trips left. In the Palisades, about 100 trips. Canyons is using 70 of them. We're using 18. Canyon Edge is we're using 8, so we're still below the capacities of these local streets. But we don't trigger a traffic report. But I already know from all the various studies that there was at one time about 100 home capacity left, and nothing's new has been built since then.
Are you saying that there's 100 home capacity in Palisades or total in the city?
And the total in the, and you know, they really didn't do anybody any favors by taking the big collector and dead ending it into the local street. We, at one time, looked at, hey, what if we just push that through? But it does slow everybody down. So you can either go this way or this way, and have 2 local streets feeding into one. So it's the one had about 100 trips left.
So do they need 2 ways in and out of this proposed development?
No, we talked to the fire department and they're fine with the single means of access. Again, that comes back to the sprinkler question. We do have to have fire sprinklers. Because we could technically get 2 ways in. They kind of do have it with the Tumwa. A lot of times the alternate would be a divided median road where you have a huge road with a median in the middle is considered 2 roads. So we almost have that. To answer the access question, it's just, this is probably the primary route. One way. Yeah. Versus the canyons has, the opportunity where some people might do this. And then that's the other question about density. We actually use in the next bigger slide. We actually, the total, we have 0.77 and 1.52 is 2.3. That's the yellow plus the street. Plus we have all this like open space area that's formal landscaping. It's about 2.5 acres, so 18 homes and 2.5 acres at SFA, which is right on the 18.
So one of the things
That's the 20.
come up before is, you mentioned the sprinklers. So what we've learned from the fire department is the sprinklers are about fires that start within the house. And so that, because the fire department can't get there fast enough to put out that, and instead of the whole house going on fire. But it doesn't deal with the wildfire issue because, it's inside the house, not exterior to the house. Is there a requirement of greenscaping? I know that came up on the canyons as well, along this road I don't know if it's come up on this project.
We haven't had the review yet, but we do have a fire hydrant. We have 2 fire hydrants proposed, and all this is more formal landscape. Everything around the homes is going to be formally maintained.
Yeah, on the last discussion, it was along the road, actually. They were worried about the fire cutting off the development kind of coming through your road by the
This
tank,
one,
like come across this white area. Okay, or come to these houses. And I just want to mention that the sprinklers, in case people don't know, is not about wildfire. It's about an internal grease fire, or something like that. Electrical fire, something like that. Just because we have some new people here and we've been over and over some of these things. And they haven't had a chance to go their training yet about this review.
I feel like by improving access, we do allow the fire department readily better access for firefighting. So they need a firefighter on this project, at least they can drive as fast as they can.
So there's still people in the audience. I wasn't sure if anybody, I mean, Tracy, you came for some reason. Jana, I don't know if you've just general interest or you had questions or.
You know, I talked at the beginning before you got here about street racing, but.
Okay. So street racing could be an issue going down your hill, down your street.
Right, sorry.
Oh.
Just on the water, are you gonna need dual piping? We talked about that for up in canyons or not?
The booster station,
You know,
the
there's-
building, we would be coming right off the booster station. We got parallel lane back here.
Okay, so no dual piping.
Nothing up the hill.
Okay.
You guys have to say,
No, the only thing I'd like to say is, we've been working really closely with everybody to make sure that we're meeting Naomi's, issues with the public safety, with fencing and gating, and we were working really closely with Tracy and Karina just on how to accomplish that best. And so we've been really good communication, make sure we're doing the right things properly and make sure it's planned well.
Yeah, he just tells us all the stuff that he finds out. We spent a lot of time.
John Kirkpatrick, do you have anything else you'd like to add this evening?
Sorry, I'm muted. No, thank you. We're good. Appreciate that.
I would like to clarify one other thing, though. We mentioned earlier about the project itself is it's a family project. Me and my brothers and my two uncles. Naomi has met with Uncle Tom regarding this project a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But it's my Uncle Tom, Uncle Mike, and us 4 brothers. The whole family project.
Joey, are you the reviewer?
This project, Brooklyn Oswald, is the assigned planner. And he's had a lot of experience with the force issues,
Right?
things like that. He's the lead planner on this project, and he's worked a lot with the other projects down this area as well.
Yes, Don.
Can I tell you a small question? I don't really understand that. Is it a standard one trip per townhome on a table somewhere or something? Is that how one daily trip came about?
What was confusing was you said there are 100 trips available. Here's 18 homes, here's 70 homes.
No, I was actually talking about, earlier, he said one per unit, one trip a day.
I heard him say 7.
You did?
Yes.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, seven for a townhome and about 10 for a single family.
John, you clarify that you referred one in peak hour and the other in daily trips. I think that's what confused them.
One something. I mean, these are 4,000 square foot buildings, aren't they gonna have kids? I mean, it's gotta be coming in and out one and
The
one.
city of Reno table, I think, is one peak hour. per single family. We're talking about average daily trips.
I think what he was saying was 7 average daily trips per townhome, 10 for single family home that's larger. I mean, how big are these? 1,500 square feet, 2,000?
22,000.
2,200? 2,200. So that's what they're just saying. Somebody either on the chat or in the audience brought the issue up about like we already have too many cars, right? And I will just share with the group that Traffic probably is the #1 concern in South Reno right now. Traffic, speeding, drag racing, everything to do with cars. And cars collisions with people, cars collisions with horses, cars collisions with each other, all that. That seems to be the #1 thing, so I'm not surprised it will come up. I will tell you, there was just another collision at Steamboat and Damani last night, yesterday. And there have been 70 collisions in 5 years on just Steamboat, that little section of Steamboat from Damani to Veterans, which is like less than a mile. It's about, I think, 0.75 mile. There's been 70 collisions right there. So they're working on that, but the concern, of the overwhelming concern I hear from people is how many more cars can we put in these roads? Just so you know, and that could come up at planning commission. You know, it's kind of like you said, there's 100 left or whatever, and we're filling in 90 of them. Like there's not room for 10 more cars, essentially.
Right.
I don't know how you phrase it.
Theoretically, right.
What's that?
Just in theoretical terms, what the city bases their
Right.
reviews on. So.
Well, thank you. I don't think any of the board members or Valley.
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just, and this is more just informational, and I just.
And can you come closer, just because these people on the mic
Absolutely.
can't, wait.
I'm gonna sit back in the back corner, that's what I get, right? Tracy Wilson for the record, and just one thing I want to say, because Naomi's brought it up several times tonight, and I'm back there on the phone dealing with the fact that we've got horses on the road. So, you know, every one of these projects goes in, we're looking at how do we keep the public safe? How do we prevent, how do we tie into existing fences? How do we prevent them from getting out? When they do get out, how do we get them back in? And we, thanks to Councilwoman Doer and the council, we got the codes into the title for fencing in that thing. What we saw with Daybreak going in is it wasn't quite specific and good enough. And one thing that has really come out of working on this particular project has nothing to do with anything other than the horse issues we're facing in this area is that we've been able to work with Brooklyn Oswald very closely and with Jim Dolan, and we have kind of been able to figure out better options for gates, for pedestrian access, for that kind of thing. And my hope is that going forward, we're going to be able to build off this and actually have some better options when more developments come in. And I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, that is something that's been coming out of a lot of hours of meetings talking about these projects. So just so you know that there is a little good coming out of this, hopefully keep horses up where they belong.
Yes, and if I could piggyback off Ms. Wilson, I talked to Brooklyn today and asked what do I need to know about this project going forward? He said basically the exact same thing you just said, is that we got it in the Title 18 and we're working on it. It's an iterative process, sort of, and every time a project goes through, we see what worked, what didn't, and working towards fine tuning it and getting better as we go. And that's
He
the goal.
definitely expressed to me that between what's gone wrong with Daybreak and what we've developed here, he has learned a lot on the ground, being able to see the issue. So hopefully that we're gonna have some good results there.
So can you convey, and with your permission, the applicants, just to Brooke about this idea of public parking and potential access? So the reason I mention it is it's been proposed to me that the contour line roughly for this trail system be around 5,700. That contour line, I don't know where that intersects this project, but it might be about where the tank is. It might be a collaborative issue, you know, between Tumwa, this project, to kind of swing it through, and how it would go through the canyons, I don't know. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, could you just at least, you know, inform Brooke about that potential issue and working collaboratively in this region on that?
Yeah, certainly. I have the notes here and I'm going to give them for a download tomorrow, and certainly this applicant can bring that up as they work on this project specifically.
If I may, please, Madam Chair. We've
Yes.
already had this discussion. For some reason, it's been missed in the presentation this evening. This is an important thing that Councilwoman Dorr brings up. This is an end-to-the-end project. There's no further creeping up the hill. And this is an opportunity for public parking for access to everything. And we've had this discussion. Brooke's not here, I'm not there, but it's really important as a public benefit for public access. If in fact the street is dedicated, that's going to be key. There's talk with different camps here of a public street versus a private street. If we're private, we're going to gate it.
Gotcha. So also, I mean, potentially there's a partnership with Tumwa and their road and so on, you know. It doesn't all have to be about this. It's just bringing it up since these roads are right next to each other and it should get worked out while this is all getting worked out.
Yes.
You know, if I could add, I met with Tom the other day regarding access. They were gonna gate their road up halfway. And we went through the easements. They thought they're exclusive, they weren't. But we looked at it and said, look, be able to get access to the east trails and to the south trails to the Tumwa Road, and then pedestrian access to our road with the what do you call this? Let's see, the emergency gate. So we went through all that, and Tumwa was on the same page. What we're doing is they modified their plans, what they're gonna do to allow for all that.
Okay, so just since Brooke isn't here, doesn't get the benefit of this. Thank you,
I
Joe.
won't put it as eloquently as you did, but I'll make sure.
So John, looks like we've got one more chance. I want a yes or a no about stormwater going through Golden Hills.
No.
I'm not sure who that chat person is, but
That is the same.
Judy,
Yeah.
okay, that's Judy, that's a no. That there will not be stormwater going through Golden Hills.
But it will go through Palisades, right? In the existing Palisades, rocked culvert area, I don't know what to call it, channel.
They're big, yeah. We've already built all these drainages already, we might as well use them versus having to go down the slope. It's just, you know, the slope looks pretty good right now, but a big storm could just wipe the
Well,
slope.
what happens is you put impervious on top of the hill. All the runoff from those roofs, that driveway and everything has to go somewhere, right? So you're gonna put it in parallel to the road and then tie it into the
Right. That's what we like
Palisades
to do. We basically put this little,
pipe.
this little project in a drainage the size of this room. We have very little effect versus, you know, the little minute drainage like this big. Our project is much bigger in terms of the water that flows down here.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Bill and Campbell, for coming out, and everybody, thanks for listening. We appreciate your thoroughness and how much you've worked with Councilwoman Dewar and Tracy in our community and, you know, helping make this a really great project. You guys are setting a good example for other developers coming in and what's important, especially when you're dealing with these wild horse issues, hillside ordinance, drainage, traffic. So thanks for your.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for having me.
John Kropotic, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mimi. Appreciate it. See you next time.
Yes, sir. Okay, we're gonna move on. So it's 8:25. That took almost an hour. Good job, everyone. Boards and commissions, committee member reports and announcements. Okay, hearing none, moving on. Future agenda items. We just talked about maybe bringing back the Ward 2 map for our tree planting. Maybe looking for that. Anything else?
Maybe, maybe I'm out of order, but I'm just wondering, I know this isn't traditional, but because of Donna's courage here, is it possible to have the developer's application included in our packet in the future? I know that we haven't done that, but it seems like it was helpful in that one instance, seeing the.
That's something I have to defer to our liaisons.
So I don't know about getting it in the packet, but there's the newsletter that goes out every time we get new projects, and there's a direct link in there.
Right.
I would handle getting it in the packet.
Well, what it is they just need to put the link on the agenda, just like they do the council agenda.
So I believe the links were on your agendas.
So
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I only checked it for one of the projects today, but yes, all of them will get their linked. I mean, really what it comes down to is just the size of the packets.
Yes.
Already.
You know, so.
Totally, no, I understand.
But as long as the link's there, I mean, that's what's really important.
Yeah, I think we're trying to make sure we do that, so.
I'm not used to getting this nice big printout with all these pictures in it.
They've been doing that lately, so when you come in person, then you get the. Thank you for coming in person today.
I'm looking smart.
Good job, guys, thank you.
Anyway, I just went to the development applications, we can skim through about 30% of it, because it's just all the check things, and then, okay, like along with this, there's like 3 pages of text.
We like the pictures.
Yeah.
So good, and Donna always brings up great questions, so keep asking those great questions. Public comment? Oh, that's a thank you, public. Yeah, because I hear it too. I'm with you. Oh, Mara.
I was just curious, we had talked before about moving our discussions and Councilman Dewar's comments towards the back end and allowing the presentations to go first. Are we going to try to implement that, or is that still a point of discussion?
We had talked about moving just to move the development projects up so they weren't, so late in the evening.
Well, I think we did that, but we could have put the tree planting after. But that's for a Nick conversation.
Yeah.
I think the idea was to do something like B1 on the trees after the projects. Just have any discussion items after the projects. It worked out fine today, but it could have been 3 discussion, like could have been the public safety report, might have taken 20 minutes,
Yeah.
And also, we rarely have 4, we usually have 3 projects, but just for your benefit here, our staff, we seem to have the most projects of any NAB, which is, we've had this conversation about why it takes long, they're very engaged, but we also have the most projects, and sometimes the most complicated projects, like up in the hills, in the wetlands, infill, they're just more challenging.
Okay, well, Mara, thank you for bringing that up, and we'll talk with Nick about that. And, all right, anything else? Any other comments, board members? All right, move to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good job,
Thank
everyone. You
you.
got through 4 projects in a lot of time.
Marathon meeting.
I
Very
know.
good job.